for blood. Better run, better run. Here it comes, here it comes. Better run, when the wolves come out to play.
What is going on, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to the Wolfpack podcast live. This is episode 6 with me, Dan. We've also got Kyle joining us in just a minute, and a special guest, Jacqui Oatley, as well, who is also going to be joining us in just a second. There's 70 of you here already. Get involved. You know how it is. Get involved in the comments. I'll bring you up, just like Drago's here, just like Bren here as well. Hope everybody is having a good time and everything. Missing the football. Yes, we all are missing the football, but hopefully this helps a little bit with that. Gives you something to watch and get your ears around and everything. We are all over our socials today. Facebook, X. We are going to be putting stuff on Instagram as well. So please, if you're on any of those socials right now, give us a like. That would be absolutely awesome. It takes very, very little time, but it helps us a lot. Helps the algorithm as well. And if you're over on YouTube, give us a subscribe. We've absolutely love if you could do that, because there's going to be a lot of content coming out on YouTube. And I don't want you to miss out on any of it. So 100 of you here right now. Let me know how you all doing in the comments. Are you ready for Wolves pre-season? That's the question I want you to answer right now. And while you're answering it, I'm going to get in my first of the panel. And of course, it's that man. He's not been here for a while, actually. So you know what I mean? He might be a little bit rusty and everything, but he is the wonderful Kyle Grazier. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Just dusting myself off. Yeah,
you feel a bit rusty?
How are we, guys? I'm happy to be here. Do you know what? I'm buzzing.
Like every single podcast episode we've been doing lately, he ain't been around for it for one reason or another. And
Mate, I've been gutted, honestly.
It just so happens that you've made this one, which is fantastic. So
I'm
all
back.
is forgiven.
I'm back. Yeah, man, I'm back. And I've got a question for everyone. Have you all been enjoying our fantastic summer? What a load of sun we've had.
I know, yeah. Did you enjoy it while it lasted for that?
I enjoyed
20
all 2
seconds.
days of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It was great fun. It was great.
But everyone's pouring in, 130 people. It's just rising. It just keeps rising. We love it. We love to see it. Get involved and everything as well in the comments. And we are going to now bring in our special guest today, Jacqui Oatley. How are you doing, Jacqui? You good?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Really good to be here.
You're welcome. Not a problem at all.
Welcome.
So Jacqui Oatley is a sports presenter and commentator on all over, basically, in the States and everything. And she's been working really, really hard. She's been one of those people we've wanted to get on the show for quite some time. And lo and behold, we've managed to get her on today. So that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, we're going to get stuck in straight away. Basically, Jacqui, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? And my first question is I think Carl's got the same one as well, but we're gonna say it here. How did you sort of get into your field? Obviously, it's an absolute dream job, isn't it? Me and Carl would absolutely love to do what you do. So, be really interesting to know like how it all came together, really.
Yeah, well, I was born in Wolves, grew up in Codsall, had got into football, probably in my very early teens, I think. Had no introduction to football at all, went to an all-girls school, no one there played football, talked about football. And then I went to a virtually all-boys school and finally had people to go to Wolves with. And I went and was completely obsessed with football, completely obsessed with Wolves. Like literally completely. You go up to Molyneux on a lunch break and stuff like that and just hang around in the Portakabin club shop as it was back then. And bought my first season ticket on the South Bank for £75 and started going away as well and went on the trains and then on the club coach, the supporters coach, when we had videos of Foz, John Hendley and Mickey Stowell. It was the Bully, Mickey Stowell kind of era, my two favourite players. And was completely and utterly addicted to Wolves and to football in general. At every level, I'd buy Match Shoot, 90 Minutes, read it back to back, cover to cover, read all the first 11s, And I remember looking at a player at Doncaster thinking, oh, he'd be quite good for Wolves. And it was Mark Rankin who ended up signing for us. And so I was a complete obsessive, but never had any kind of inkling or indication that I could possibly work in football. It just didn't occur to me, and nobody else mentioned it. Not one person, despite my passion, my obsession, my knowledge, which was a bit strange at the time and completely out of keeping really with the rest of my life. But yeah, that's no one's fault. That's just how it was at the time. And then, cut a long story short, went to university in Leeds when I was 17 and used to come back for all the games and travelled all around the country and set up the Leeds University Wolverhampton Wanderers Supporters Society with Johnny Phillips. Those guys.
No way.
So we go back all that way, which is a very long time ago. And a few others came in my little baked bean tin, my little fourth hand Fiat Uno that I had that served us really well. And again, just never really thought about working in football. Wouldn't have had any confidence to think I could do it. And played football for Leeds. That's the first time that I could ever get a coaching session. Did a 4-year degree, lived in Germany for a year. My mum saved all the Express and Star articles for me and sent them to me every week. She was an absolute legend and phoned me with all the scores and everything, because that's how it was back then. That was the only way of knowing.
That's amazing.
I went traveling around the world for a year and came back, still had no idea what I wanted to do, fell into intellectual property, which is protecting brands on the internet, because I didn't know what else to do. I moved to London, got a flat share, met loads of new people, great social life, went to watch Wolves still every Saturday with the London Wolves, met up at Euston for the home games and wherever for the away games, and played every Sunday. So I had my football fix at weekends whilst not being very fulfilled during the week. And then a few years later, injured my knee really badly playing football and was told I couldn't play again. And I just thought, oh my God, what do I do now? I still followed Wolves around with this massive plaster cast that I had on my leg and crutches and stuff for 10 months. But there was something missing. The fact I couldn't play anymore, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is enough. And I'd put off ever doing anything to do with broadcasting, because that would mean I couldn't watch Wolves every week, frankly. And I had it in my head, this balance. Could I do both? No, I couldn't. Did I want to give up watching Wolves every week? No, I didn't. So I put up with the really unfulfilling day job. And then once the knee injury came and I had that time to think, what do I want to do? I had to change jobs, stayed in a similar field, but it was nightmare. It was a nightmare job change. I didn't want to be there. They didn't want me to be there. They knew I didn't want to be there. And had my operation, was still on crutches. And I just had this fire in my belly. And I just thought, I have to make a change. I have to get out of this office that has bars on the windows. I have to get away from this boss who's just a bully. And I just thought life's short. And I traveled around the world. I'd done a lot of stuff. I'd lived abroad already. And I knew there was more to life than this. And so that's when I got on the internet. And that's when I researched how on earth do you get into football broadcasting, basically. I wanted to be a reporter on 5 Live. Ultimately, that was what I listened to all the time. That's what I watched when I was at grounds. I'd look out for the press box and I'd look up and see who was talking at the time. I had my little radio in my ear and I'd see, oh, it's Eleanor Oldroyd, or it was John Murray or Ian Dennis. And I followed it so closely and I thought, that's what I want to do. And that's when I wrote to various people and asked, how do I get into this? And decided to do hospital radio one night a week and did a little sports report there and radio production course another night of the week. And then got a magazine from W.H. Smith and flicked through that and thought, how can I find a journalism course? And I did one night a week doing introduction to print journalism. So I started at the very bottom and just did as much as I could to try and work out if this was the career for me. After 6 months, thought, yeah, it's definitely what I want to do. But how do I jump from a relatively well-paid job to nothing? What do I do? So I thought I'd give up the job and then I wouldn't be able to afford to live in London anymore. So I gave up my flat as well and did full-time work experience and slept on friends' floors and went up to WM for a week rather. I wrote to them and went in there for a week and just did whatever I could to get a foot on the ladder and realised that I want to do it properly. I don't just want to get in somewhere and just not be very good. And I thought, well, I'll apply to universities and see if I can do a postgrad in broadcast journalism. And I did. I went up to Sheffield and the best thing I ever did and just had a year there of just learning my trade. Wrote to all the local BBC stations as soon as I got there saying I'm a mature student in a hurry. I was in my late 20s. And I said, can I come and see you? And I got my big break, with one letter back from BBC Leeds saying, come in for 2 days work experience, TV news. And I thought, that's it. Once I get in the door, I'm going to go and find the sports editor, and started doing non-league football for £21 a week while doing my postgrad, and carried that on and just did as many shifts all over the country as I could, and just worked and gave up everything, gave up my love life, my boyfriend, my friends, effectively, who completely understood that I was no longer available on weekends. They couldn't come up and visit because I'd be working, and just threw everything at it. And I just haven't stopped ever since then, really.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that story's phenomenal, isn't it?
What an introduction that is. That is the best one we've had so far.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was quite a long answer. Sorry, I always try and do the short version. There isn't a short version.
No, we don't want a short version.
What a story. That is incredible.
That was perfect. I mean, that's inspiring for me, to be fair, because I've always wanted to teach music, you know what I mean? And I was in retail for like the longest time after I finished school, and I just felt trapped. So when you were talking about bars on the windows and feeling that like pressure of you not really like living up to the dream that you wanted to live up to and everything, I think that's really, really inspiring. And I'm assuming, like, you know, how many people are watching right now and how many people will be watching this video. I think that's a really, really fascinating story, that you've just started from such a, you know, basically the bottom of the food chain when it comes to journalism, and worked your way up through hard graft. And I think everyone finds that really, really amazing. I know Kyle would as well, because I think Absolutely. You know, Kyle, you'd want to sort of get into that sort of field. I'm guessing eventually, but
yeah, like, absolutely.
Knowing how
I'd
much,
love to.
Yeah, knowing how much hard work goes into it and everything, you have to feel really, really like inspired by these kind of people, don't you?
Oh, massively. And honestly, like, seeing it, I was silent throughout the whole. I don't think I moved in the whole thing, and I find it really difficult to sit still anyway. And I was just so transfixed on that story, and I was just like, wow.
Steve thinks the same. It's fascinating stuff.
And honestly, like, you hear about it and you just think, I don't know anybody with a story like that. And listening to you, Jacqui, there, it was honestly incredible. So first of all, well done. And two, while everyone else falls in love with that story just like I have. When you did your knee injury, I've just come back from this exact same injury as well. It was all my ACL and the ligaments and cartilages around it and stuff, and it is a completely disgusting injury. How did that feel? Because for me, like, I've loved football since I could walk, probably even before I could walk. Like, my mum will tell me stories about when I had like a little ball as a kid and I was just passing it between my feet before I could even walk. So for me, it was like a huge part of me just got torn away, and I was like, I hated every minute of it. Like, even now, I went into the management role, and I've come up with a little grassroots team, and I went into a management role for a men's team locally to me. But how did that feel for you? Because it is difficult.
Yeah, and because I was playing in the Greater London League, there were no semi-professional, professional teams back then. Not that I would ever have played for them, I need to point out as well. But I didn't have a coaching session until I was 17 anyway. It wasn't even possible back then. But it felt painful is how it felt, because I dislocated my kneecap and ruptured all the ligaments at the same time. And the problem I had was that I lost all the cartilage underneath the kneecap, and there just wasn't any treatment for that. And that was the heartbreaking thing. So I had to wait 6 months before a full knee reconstruction, patella tendon realignment. I've still got a screw in. I had another operation where they tried to take the screws out, and one of them they managed to get out. The other one just stuck halfway, so now it just pokes through my skin, and it's disgusting. And I've got the shark bite kind of scar to show. But the problem was that because it was just so amateur, there was no physio or anything like that, and waited in the NHS like everybody else, of course. And I didn't really do my physio, and I really regret that, because now I play football in the garden with my 10-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter, and they love football. Max has just, in the last few months, just before his 10th birthday, got mad into football. And it's so wonderful. But it's just so painful, because I just can't play properly. And I can do keepy uppies and stuff, but I'm so paranoid of doing any twisting and turning because I don't trust that kneecap. I just don't. And if it goes again, I'm kind of screwed, excuse the pun, because I travel so much with work and I'm over to America all the time and driving all the time. So it's really painful, but I'm a massively, massively glass half full kind of person. And I just think every time that knee hurts, which is every single day, I can't run for a bus. I cannot run. I can't. I was doing legs, buns and tums class yesterday and it was just killing my knees, even my so-called good knee, because I've had to overcompensate over the years. And so yesterday, my so-called good knee was my bad knee. And it's really frustrating. But I also remind myself that whenever I have pain in that knee, that something so good has come from it, because had I not had that operation, maybe I'd have carried on in the London Wolves for another 30 years or so or whatever. Or maybe, no, not that long, but maybe I'd have carried on playing and maybe I wouldn't have had that fire in my belly to go, look, enough already. I've got to do this. I've got to do it, because I didn't know if I'd be any good at it. I didn't know if I'd make a good journalist. I didn't even know that journalism is what it is. The basis of commentary and reporting. I didn't know that having a journalism qualification is a route in, and is a really good route in, and learning how to broadcast, learning how to ask questions, learning what media law is and what you can say on air, what you can't say on air, closed questions. I didn't know anything about that. And I had no idea if I'd be any good at it. So I'm just glad I gave it a go and worked my way up. And I'm glad that I took every single step from hospital radio to non-league football, to local radio non-league football commentary, to learning my trade, learning how to have a patch, learning how to build contacts, how to build a contacts book, learning that that's what it's all about, having numbers to call, to phone up, to ask the truth, and then to disseminate the truth to other people, because that's what journalism is. And I incorporate that into commentary as well, finding stuff out on behalf of the viewer. So when I do my commentaries, as well as doing the how tall is that tall centre half, or how tiny is the midfielder, and who do they used to play for, and what positions can they play, as well as that, I really pride myself on doing extra research and talking to people who know these clubs really well, and sharing that information with people, because I'm a fan too. I watch games as a neutral, I watch games as a fan, and I know what I want a commentator to tell me. So I think, having travelled all over the country and abroad as well, watching football as a fan and paying to go every week, I feel like I do have an understanding of how fans feel and the kind of information and the kind of perspective they want from a commentator. So I'm hoping that helps me, and I'm hoping that helps the viewer as well.
I think that's why it's so fascinating to just listen to you talk, because you do see things from two completely different perspectives. Like, we can only talk as fans, but seeing it from a professional outlook as well, it's honestly, it's incredible. And the things you guys have to go through, I can't even begin to imagine, which is partly the reason we've got you on here, because, 99% of our listeners haven't got a clue on what you have to do on a day-to-day basis, and the research you have to do, and the people you have to talk to, and your network that you have to build up. And honestly, it's amazing. But you mentioned commentary there. But how different is that to your journalism, and how do the two compare?
Yeah, commentary is a completely different way of speaking, and it's a different kind of role to even reporting. I actually much prefer commentary to reporting. I worked for 5 Live for many years doing commentary and reporting, and I'd much rather commentate than report, because if you're reporting at a game, you've got to cram everything into 10 seconds, 15 seconds. There might be 2 sendings off, a couple of goals. You've got to give a flavour of the game. I find that so much harder than actually completely immersing yourself in a game. And I do probably do too much prep for a commentary, but I do like to have all the information at the back of my head, like a filing cabinet, to draw out a file that I might need at any given time. If a player does something, or if a player's down injured and he's the one we're talking about for 5 minutes, I like to have that. So commentary is very different. I'll be completely honest. Whilst it's an absolute privilege, it is a lifestyle, and it's not an easy thing to do when you're married with children, and you've got, clubs and classes to sort out. You've got school runs to do. That's the easy bit. Discipline to do. You've got, I've got my kids now watching a Netflix documentary, my backside, film at the moment, and I make sure it's not anything too graphic, and just first day of school holidays today, and just trying to get them off screens, and the things that take up your headspace around it makes it very difficult to actually find the time to spend hours on end just focused on one thing, and not even just life, but other things. You know, I present the darts for ITV as well, which I absolutely love, and I'm freelance, and I'll get messages. You know, I got an email today asking me to be on a celebrity quiz show, and straight away my husband went, "No, you're terrible at them." I'm like, "Yes, I know. I'm supposed to be in America the next day." And he's like, "Just say no." I'm like, "But it might be fun." He's like, "You're terrible at all the others." I'm like, "You're right." But just the kind of decision making on a day-to-day, I know it's not hard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying feel for me here. I'm just saying that lifestyle wise, I've done the 9 to 6 kind of job, and there are massive benefits to having that when you know you've got every evening and every weekend free. And just like, I massively appreciate how lucky I am to be able to do this job, and I don't want to swap it. I love it, but I think it's not for the faint-hearted. There's the social media side of things. There's the abuse you get, even from your own fans, even when Wolves fans know I'm a Wolves fan, and I've been straight down the middle. I'm sure you'll ask me about impartiality. Genuinely, I find it easy to be impartial during a game, which might sound wild. And then people think you're biased one way or another. So that's a very minor thing. But just the work-life balance, I would say, is the hardest part, because I never really switch off. I'm never, ever off. I'm constantly thinking, you know, my next commentary isn't till August the 17th for a Premier League game, Forest against Bournemouth. And already I'm kind of like thinking, don't go online, don't research either side, don't do it, don't look at it, switch off, you're going on holiday on Saturday. And already I'm like, I can't wait to go online and just check out the latest transfers and you know what Nuno's done and what have you, but I have to stop myself. So and also being freelance, being rejected all the time. People don't realize this. They see you on TV or they hear you on the radio. They don't realize how much rejection goes into this job. How many times you've been passed over for something, or how many times you've done something and suddenly someone else is doing it now because they want them to do it, not you. Honestly, there is so much rejection, and also juggling your finances. I haven't been paid for 2 or 3 months or something, and I'm like, oh, right, that's not great, when everyone wants paying on the day that someone comes and fixes the roof, and they want paying on the very day that they come and do something for your garden or whatever. So there are lots of things to juggle. So I'm not saying it's the, you know, it's a doddle or it's a breeze. Yes, it's a privilege, but massive pros and massive cons, just like anything else.
It's almost like you've got like a lot to lose, really. So you try and maintain it as much as you can and everything. And I suppose that balance of making that not be frustrating, because I feel like if you make that part of your job frustrating, getting work and doing all these things, I think it's hard then to, when you have got the work, to put all of yourself into it and stuff. So I can understand the sort of balancing act that you've got there. That must be pretty challenging. But yeah, we've talked about your sort of history with Wolves a little bit when we sort of talked about how you got into your field of work and everything. But I'd like for you to really talk to us, like, why Wolves? When did it happen? Like, I know you from like Wolverhampton and everything. You were born there and everything. That makes sense. But like, who was it that, you know, showed you the Golden Palace, and what was your first game? You know, just tell us as much as you can, basically, about that.
Yeah, so the Wolves perspective. So I knew Wolves existed. So I'm from Codsall, which is about a 10-minute drive away from Molineux on a good traffic day, shall we say. I'm born in the New Cross, but I didn't have any introduction to football, let alone Wolves. I just didn't. I have an older brother. He still to this day has no interest in sport. My mum and dad are quite sport. My mum's South African, which is why I've never really had a strong accent. My dad's not local either. Again, that's why I've never really had a strong accent. Though it does come out, Bab. Don't worry about that. Thank you. Come on, me babbies. I do talk like that. And when I was away, sorry, I digressed, but when I was away at the Euros, I was working with Warren Barton, you know, former England and Newcastle defender, and a wonderful stats guy called Matt the Stat. And we had this huge guy called Big Dunk, because he Dunkin' Donuts, he eats donuts all the time. And he's German, and I had them all saying, "All right, okay, come on, me babbies," and they're all fluent by the end of it. Come on, me babbies.
Love it.
But I feel a massive attraction to my hometown, as I still call it, because it used to be a town. And so I got into football first through just a game being on TV one day, literally as boring as that. I was just on the sofa and it was on, and something just went off in my head as if to say, okay, this is it. This is it. This is the sport for me. I was already mad into PE, lived for PE, despised RE with a passion, which was big at my school. That's what they were trying to teach us. I always loved sport. I always loved playing sport. I watched a load of golf on TV with my dad. I loved snooker. Loved the World Snooker Championship. Watched every single ball being potted that I could. Same with the Olympics, same with tennis. So I was already innately a sport fan, but football hadn't really grabbed me. I just didn't really see it. There wasn't much on TV, believe it or not, those days. There was a game a week. So, take it or leave it. And once I'd seen that game, that was it. And from that day onwards, I turned into the biggest weirdo, the biggest, strangest person, because it was completely out of keeping with my life. Nobody around me was into football. Not one person. I had no one. All my family was in South Africa. And my dad was much, much older, had a much older family who still never watched a football match in their lives. None of them. My dad wasn't really into football. So it really was out of keeping. And all my girly friends like me were into Bros, The Cure, U2, whatever else. And it was music. And I had all these posters on my bedroom wall from smash hits at the time. And I had Bros posters under my dressing table glass. Yeah. And the transition from getting into football and then choosing Wolves was a case of, this is literally what happened, was once that switch had flicked, I was like, right, I'm going to go and get the local paper. We got the Express and Star delivered every day. Instead of racing the dog Gemma to the front door to then open page 3 for the TV listings, I then decided to race Gemma to the front door when we heard the paper boy, to get the newspaper. And I literally turned it from the front. Instead of going to page 3, I went to the back and I looked at it and I was like, I've got a local team. This is who I'm going to support. And that was it. That was it. From that day on, I read every single word of the Express and Star's Wolves content. And then that escalated so quickly and got into Bully in note. Bully just became an absolute god in my eyes overnight. And then Mickey Stow became my second favourite player. And so it goes on. I've got, listen, I could talk about that era forever, so I won't bore you with it. But that became massive. And then still never, ever had a clue how to get to a game or what to do. I just didn't know anything about it. There's no one around me. And then I went to a virtually all boys school, and finally there were Wolves fans everywhere. And that was it. I went with them and my first game was September. This is how old I am. It was September 1990, and it was a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Bristol Rovers, and Robbie Dennison scored our goal. And the two stands, if you'll have seen them, if not remembered them, miles away with the faded red seats in what's now the Steve Ball stand. It was John Island stand. It was like in another postcode. And then the other two stands, what's now on Waterloo Road, the Billy Wright, and the North Bank were completely condemned. Old stands, just not safe. And I stood in the South Bank. So my first season ticket was in the South Bank. And I was up in the choir. And I remember some Wolves fans saying to me, why are you not down the front with all the kids and the women? And I was like, well, there's no atmosphere down here. This is where I want to be. And so I would go. And yes, the lads from school would come. But if they didn't, I'd go anyway. And then I started going to away games. And they wouldn't come to all the away games. I'd still go anyway.
That's amazing.
I just was completely addicted and went on the coaches and then later started driving. And as soon as I went to Leeds University, then that was it. I carried on. I remember, God, this is how sad I was. I remember going up to university, driving up there in my little car. My parents came up as well. And I was in a house of 14 girls. It was university accommodation, but there were 14 girls in a house. And I went up to my new room, said hi to the girls, showed my parents my new house. And I went, anyway, nice to meet you all. They were all planning their first night in, and they were going to drink vodka and smoke and do whatever they were doing. And I was like, anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm just going back down to Wolverhampton because Wolves are playing West Ham. And it was a 0-0 draw. And I went back and watched a 0-0 draw. It was on TV anyway, and then drove all the way back to Leeds after I just met my new housemates instead of bonding with them. That's the ridiculous thing I did. And so it continued from there. But once you're addicted to something, once you're that passionate, and it it kind of controlled me in a way. And my walls were suddenly, you know, my student accommodation, Steve Bull everywhere, and Mickey Stowell and whoever else. Yeah, it was just it. That was all I thought about. Every time I saw one of those dogs are for life, not just for Christmas stickers, they were slightly yellowy, and I just kept having to look closely to see if it was a wolf sticker. And it's still now, if I see anything vaguely orangey, yellow, black, anything, or a car, and I say to my kids, it's a wolf's car, and they're like, oh, Mum, you're so weird. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, and I could never buy a Triton shower because they sponsored Birmingham. All those kind of things, you know, you just, you know, even now if I have a pundit who wears navy and sort of silver, I'd say, can you not wear West Brom colours when we're on air, please? Yeah, look, you know, I've got my AirPods case and everything's gold and black, everything. This jumper I bought because it was vaguely Wolves colours, like literally everything. I do hope no other fans are watching this apart from Wolves fans, or I'll be in such trouble for being biased.
Sodom. It's where you start.
I'm not biased on a match day. Honestly, I can guarantee I'm not.
That was where I was really going to go.
Yeah,
that's really where I was going to go next. Really, was like, obviously you've got such an absolute passion and you bleed gold and everything. When you've got to really get into the nitty gritty and actually commentate on games like for or against Wolves, it doesn't matter. You know, you have to be professional and what have you. And I'll be honest, like, I'd find that really, really difficult. I would, but I think because it's in a professional setting and everything, I feel like you just kind of go to it like a duck to water. Like you have to do it. You've got no choice. You just get involved. But I feel like there must have been some games where you were on the edge a bit, going, I must not celebrate. There's got to be like some games that you've commentated or at least been involved with that you've gone, that's difficult.
Only at the final whistle. Honestly, I did Wolves Man City last season, and that's probably the closest, I'll be honest. But not during the game, not till the final whistle. Honestly. Now, I'm being completely honest with you here.
Yeah.
You've kind of got an idea about my passion for Wolves, right? You sort of understand the background. But I'm being also completely honest when I say on a match day, when I'm commentating, absolutely, that is out the window. And I explain how. It's not just, I'm being professional, which I am.
Yeah.
But there is so much to think about. Once you've got those headphones on, I've got different people talking to me in my ears. I've got a Sky or BBC producer, depending on whether it's an OB for Sky or the BBC, because they alternate, they share them all. So you don't have two trucks from two identical broadcasters next to each other. So if it's a BBC game, then I'll hear one of my former directors in my ears, and they'll be talking to both commentators, but he won't be able to hear me back. If it's a Sky OB, then I can talk directly to them and they'll be sort of picking up on what I'm saying. And if I talk about somebody in the director's box, they might pan to them or whatever. And then I'm also hearing from IMG, because IMG are the production company, the huge company that send the pictures around the world, because we're also commentating live in USA on NBC and Optus in Australia and Africa, and it goes live around the world. So it's not just a UK audience. And later on, it'll go on Match Choice at either 8 o'clock if it's a big game, or 10 p.m. or, drop down menu, and you record the Wolves highlights, and that's what it is. There's so much to think about. We're on air for 10 minutes before kickoff, and a lot of that has to be scripted to certain pictures, because they'll tell me what the pictures are. They'll send me a spreadsheet. So this is really boring, but just to give you an idea how it works. Love this. Yeah, to give you an idea how it works, you have your little intro, the players will come out at this time, then I'll know I have 2 minutes to ask Dave Edwards or Matt Upson or Rob Green or whoever questions about whatever. I'll ask them about the home fans if the pictures are on the home fans, or I'll ask them about the away team if the pictures are on the away team, and we'll sort of craft it all. So that takes planning, concentration. And then you have to talk over, they'll tell me if we're starting with the top half of the table first or the bottom half. That needs a bit of scripting, because it's very specific about points and what would happen today if so-and-so do what. And so you're talking to specific pictures. So you're focusing so much and thinking, what will I say if they show this picture? What will I say if they do that? And then kickoff. And then what am I going to say at kickoff? What's the context of this game? So people are joining from around the world at different points. Some will join 10 minutes before. Then I'll be told to pause for 10 seconds at this point, and then somebody else will be joining as the team's walking out. So I have to pause then. So there are all these different joining points, all this different context I have to add for the people who are joining us all the time. Then the game kicks off. And then I'm like, okay, a little bit of context. Who's playing in which colour? What's at stake? and then getting into the commentary, and you're focusing so much on who's doing what in the game. Headphones are on, lip mic I'm holding, I'm looking at the summarizer, glancing at my notes, choosing the right time to bring something in. When am I going to mention that? When do I talk about the recent form? When do I want to talk about the managers and what pressure they're under, or who? There's so much to think about other than just good tackle by so-and-so, great pass by so-and-so. Oh, it's a goal.
I know what you mean.
There's so much to think about that I can honestly guarantee you that when I'm at the Molineux or when I was away at Nottingham Forest, I was not thinking, oh, this is the team I've supported for so many years. Oh, I really hope they win today. No, I'm just not thinking that. I'm honestly not. And if they get thumped like they did 6-0 at Brighton, then I am trying to reflect what I'm thinking as a neutral commentator, which is, how is this team that's just managed to stay up performed so abysmally badly? Like, why is that? And what are Brighton doing so well? And a lot of that is based on, I'll ask questions to the summarizer so they can give their opinion. I try not to give too much of opinion. I try to raise points that are relevant to what we're seeing, but it's not so much opinion, if that makes sense.
I think I'll be exactly the same. I think, obviously, Wolves through and through, as you know, like you say, bleed gold. And I think I'll be exactly the same, though. I think once you've got that head on, you've got to, like you say, take all this information in, reflect on the notes you've taken, analyze every single thing throughout the game, whether you're talking about it or not. You know, you've got to take it all in. And obviously, previous results come in and previous games come in and how the teams are setting up and blah, 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 blah. So I don't think you get time to go, yes, go on the Wolves. I genuinely don't think you get time.
It just doesn't happen. But what people don't realise is that virtually every other commentator is a mad fan of their team too. You just wouldn't know it. You just would. I mean, I'm certainly not going to name names, but almost. I think there's a couple of guys at WM when I used to work there who just didn't have a team, and I was just. They genuinely didn't have a team, and I was like, I'm so impressed by that. But also, I'm like, how are you so passionate about football if you just don't have a team? Because obviously that's alien to me. But that's a really good way to be. They genuinely, didn't, just didn't have a team. But on, I think national radio. I mean, some are happy to let it be known because they're maybe lower league. In fact, they probably promote the fact they're a big fan of a lower league stuff. Some I know for a fact talk about them being a fan of a certain non-league club, whereas actually they're not. They're a fan of a massive club, but it's certainly, there's no point in anyone knowing that because they would wrongly be accused of bias. They're not biased. They're not biased. I watch these sports programs, these commentaries, whatever, knowing exactly who they support. And in a million years, you would never know because we're professionals. That is the job. As if you're going to say, oh, that was never a penalty when it should have been. If Max Kilman, I know he's gone now, but if Max Kilman's slid in, completely missed the ball and taken the man, I have absolutely no problem in saying, well, it's the clearest penalty you ever see. But I also understand how some Wolves fans listening will be annoyed with me saying that because they're like, hang on a minute, I thought you were supposed to be a Wolves fan. It's like, sorry, lads, that's not my job today. My job is to say what I see, but still I do try to defer opinion to my summariser because even if they used to play for Wolves or the opposition, I don't care. They're also just giving an opinion. And fans, I'm sure the vast, vast majority understand that we're just saying what we see and what we think. And there genuinely is not any bias in it, honestly.
I think I think all clubs have got those fans who can be a little bit delusional when it comes to like what a penalty is or their opinion on VAR or whatever. You know, if you had a decision go your way or a decision go against you and it's like, yeah, it's a penalty, it's not a penalty, whatever. But I think if you're passionate about football, just being football, I think you can give a very accurate analysis on it. Like if it is, like you say, a stonewall penalty, you've got no problem in saying a stonewall penalty. Like I'm exactly the same. I'll try and be as completely level-headed as I can be. And this is why like I've got mates who are hard Albion fans. He's like my best mate. But he'll go, oh, God, what about that one then? How do you feel about that? Well, actually, it probably was a penalty because what's happened there is Max Kilman's took the man and not the ball. And he's gone, oh, I thought you'd say it wasn't a penalty. And I'm like, no, because I'm not an idiot. Do you know what I mean?
And also, the other way of thinking about it is if it happens to the other end of the field, would you be happy for it to be given against you or whatever?
Yeah,
or would you
exactly.
expect it to be given? And I'm not I'm not saying fans shouldn't be partisan at all. Of course, fans should be partisan, but just when it comes to attacking broadcasters for being biased, especially commentators, honestly, it just, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I genuinely don't see it. And I know the teams that all the commentators support. And I honestly don't see it. And also there's the thing that people go, oh, she's gone too far the other way. She's being anti-Wolves to try. No, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't. There's no point. What is the point in going to work and picking up a microphone and then trying to be that side of the line just so people don't think? No, I mean, I don't really care if people know, but what I really, 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 really care about is doing my job properly and being professional. That for me, whether I have loads of work, whether I have no work, fine, but I will always be professional. And if people don't like it, whatever, honestly, I can sleep at night. It's fine.
I think you should sleep at night anyway, because I've honest to God heard your voice so many times during watching games back for you know, if I need to sort of like learn a little bit about what happened in a game or whatever. I do a lot of match reviews and everything, and I've never ever thought once hearing your voice going, yeah, that's a Wolves fan, or you know, the opposite, like she's a Wolves fan, why is she being like this? I personally never ever feel like that. It's got to be a very, very minute few that are that sort of weak-minded. I think on the grand scheme of things, people like admire how passionate about you are about your team, but also admire that, you know, you've got a job and that you've got something to maintain. So personally, I don't think that's something you need to worry about. I think that's just something that is like a minute few will have that problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure I worry. I think there are bigger things to worry about, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But I am always thinking about the audience, so I will sometimes go on a rant in a commentary, and it might be that it's against Wolves that day. If Wolves like the 6-0 at Brighton, like what the heck? I mean, like, hello, what has just happened, or what is happening in front of us? But that's part of the narrative. That is, the longer I've done this job, and I've done it a lot of years now. At first, I was terrified of my own shadow. I honestly was, because I thought everyone's looking at me, everyone's listening to me, everyone's like, she shouldn't be doing this, she's a woman, oh, let's have a listen. You know, it was horrific at the time. And I don't mind being completely honest about that. But after all these years, I just think, well, I don't have that level of worrying about myself anymore. I literally just try and do the best job I can. I do my prep as well as I can, as thoroughly as I can. I get there 4 hours early, which is much earlier than I used to. I'm just super prepared and do the best job I can. And that's all you can do in any job, whatever you guys do for a living. You know, you just go and do the best job you can, and at the end of the day, try and you know.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have got as far as you have if you didn't think the way you thought. So absolute creds to you, because I think it's brilliant, and your story's amazing. So hats off to you.
Right, guys, I'm just going to go right through the comments real quick, because we had quite a few comments. Dragos has asked about the membership thing. We are actually sorting out that for the coming season. I didn't want to start a membership thing pre-season where we're not doing a lot of work, and basically every penny you put into us, I want to really explore that and make our channel bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't feel like pre-season's a good time to do that. There's not really a lot going on at the moment. So coming the actual season, there will be ways to support us and everything. So I really appreciate that, Drogos.
If you want to chuck me a cheeky tenner, I don't mind
that. Andrew says Robert's hat-trick against the Baggies was one of my favourite games. I mean, if it's against the Baggies, and it's any game where we've won against the Baggies is going to be one of your favourite games, isn't it?
I was behind the goal that day in the away end.
Nice.
There you go. So
amazing.
My first game was Bournemouth away in 1985.
Oh, good. Nice. Someone's older than me on this pod. That's good.
Andrew says, I've never been to Molyneux. My first game was at Pride Park, where we drew 3-3 with Derby. I didn't know you hadn't been to Molyneux, Andrew. We'll have to hook you up with some tickets, mate. I have to get you there for sure. What's this? Plastic Shark says, hello from Georgia, USA. How you doing? How's things, man? What time is it in USA at the moment?
So East Coast is 5 hours behind.
Yeah.
Goes to 3:30 p.m. and then another 3 hours behind on the West Coast.
Oh, nice. So it's
So
like,
just
yeah,
lunchtime.
yeah, nice, cool. Are you heading to watch the Wolves in America Plastic? Let us know. Jealous if you are, because that sounds like 3 phenomenal games that you get to watch. Neil says, "Hi all, season is going to be something special for us. We hope so. We hope so." And then you've got this question from Steve. Jacqui says, "Does your knowledge of the Wolves squad as a supporter mean you don't have to swat up on them during the pre-match talks and stuff?"
Good question. No, it doesn't mean that at all. I spend just as long on Wolves as I do on the opposition, even though I have that residual knowledge, because I'm trying to find out something different about them, or something more recent, or just something different to my previous commentary, because they do send me to a lot of Wolves games and I've got a theory that they think I live up there. So I don't, I live down south.
Oh, bless you.
But it's quite funny, but I'm definitely not complaining. So no, I do just as much on Wolves. Weirdly, I think part of that is to make sure that everything's sharp and up to date, and there's always something different to know about which positions they played in recent weeks, or who they've been linked with, or what the manager said about them. There's always something fresh to be said. You know, if you literally go into every commentary and talk about how Max Gilman used to play futsal and he's half Russian and Ukrainian, well, you kind of,
Mate, that is literally bingo for us every time he played, man. So I'm going to miss that when he's not playing for us now. I'm going to be watching the West Ham games in anticipation, waiting for them to talk about how he played futsal. Like, it was every single time.
It
Max,
was
did you know?
bingo.
Did you know Max Gilman used to play futsal? Like, yes, everybody knows that by now, mate. It's like common knowledge now that he did that. For God's sake,
It's fascinating though. I was really interested when I first found that out. I was like,
yeah. But
actually,
when did you first find it out, Kyle? Did you find it out when he was like in the Wolves under 21s, like I did?
Mate, no, it was about 3 weeks ago. I don't think people started talking about it till then, did they? No, I'm only one joke. Yeah, it probably was when we just signed him. But
the challenge for me was trying to find out something more interesting, something more recent, or just something different. Like, he was born in Chelsea, for example, and he was linked with Chelsea. So I'd put that into commentary, because that's not something maybe everybody knows. And
yeah, definitely.
I'd always try and find something different about each player. But also their ages change, don't they? So you have to refresh that, or it might not have done their height last time. Or there's always something fresh to know, definitely.
Amazing. Right, I know there's a question in there about VAR, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because I don't want to get too angry about something halfway through a podcast. So we'll talk about that in a bit. I just want to talk about pre-season a little bit, Kyle. Obviously, we've not been on the show, have you? So we may as well talk about the signings and everything.
Yeah, man.
Not in great detail, but do you think that there's some signings there that are going to help Wolves in the new season? And is there anyone really that we still need to, any position really that we need to sort of strengthen?
Starting off with the signings, I think absolutely they're going to help us. I think Pedro Lima and Strand Larsen especially have looked very promising in our previous 2 games against Como and Bristol City. But yeah, you know, they're both doing their bit just like everybody else is. What I'm really liking about what Gary O'Neill's doing pre-season is where he's been testing 2 different teams each half, and he's changed the whole 11 just to put everybody on that level playing field. Nobody's on a pedestal. Like, you know, you've all got your fair shot, whether you're Matheus Cunha or you're Luke Rawlins, who's an England youth. You know, you're there and there.
Yeah, I love that as well.
It's something you don't see very often.
No.
And normally you try and build your teams around your more experienced players like your Cunhas or your now Hwangs or your Dawsons, blah blah blah. But putting everyone there is brilliant. I think it's a fantastic idea. You know, Lamina's been captain for a lot of the first halves. Hwang's been captain for a lot of the second half. So it's all we've seen. So are they his 2 choices? Who knows? You know, what will be. But I think we'll see a lot more coming up in the games we've got in America. But
yeah, I think
I'm really
USA
excited for America. Actually, I think it's going to be a really good test for us and us as a squad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the look of the young Gomez as well. I like the look of him. He's looking decent.
It's interesting. He's been playing on the left when he's when he normally plays on the right. That's very interesting.
It
I
is.
think he's going to try and work with inverted wingers, which is quite interesting.
Well,
And also,
there's a lot of talk around Neto as well, isn't there?
yeah,
You know,
a
will
lot
he
of talk,
stay?
yeah.
Will he go? You know, I'd personally like to keep him for another season. I think we're in a position now where we don't need to sell him as such. I've not stayed as up to date as I probably could have on what financial state the Wolves are in, but I think
we
we're
don't
okay.
need to sell.
I think we're okay.
The only thing we need to do really is address maybe the bit of quality that we might be lacking now. Max Kilman's gone. Maybe spend some money on a decent sort of centre back.
I think that would be my go-to now. Is a nice centre back. I know we've been linked with Nico Elfedi, who would be top of my list. I think his quality. He's done a great job at Mönchengladbach. He's solid, and he's only young. I think he's like 24. So you know he's good for his size. He's agile. I think he'd fill that spot very, very well, playing alongside Dawson, and obviously you've got Mosquera and Totti as well coming up. So I think
there's some exciting players coming in.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It'll be very interesting to see what he does with Mosquera as well, which I think might be the reason we're holding back on signing a big centre back.
Definitely.
I think Mosquera and Totti are kind of fighting for Max's old spot, if you like.
I know that Gary has said that he really, really likes Mosquera, and he's liked him for quite some time. To be fair, I think he probably would have pulled him back a lot sooner if he had the option after Craig Dawson got injured, because he's a very he attacks in the air, whereas anyone that was next to Dawson really kind of left him to do that job, really, and no one really filled in after he got injured. But I won't talk about too much about the preseason. We're going to actually have some videos based up on the USA games and everything going forward anyway. So, but I will talk about a little bit something extra at the end of the video, which I was going to talk. Sorry, getting my words mixed up. We're going to talk about the charity football game that me and Carl may or may not be involved in.
Wow, I'm buzzing.
So we'll talk about that at the end. Let's move on to, Jacqui, a bit of a sensitive subject. Let's face it, could have been one of those things we probably start the podcast with had things gone the right way. But so obviously you did some time working at the Euros. So obviously we'll talk about England in general in a minute. But what was it like working at the Euros? Was it a good time over in Germany? Some highlights perhaps of your journey.
Yeah, it was a brilliant tournament, and it was great to work on. I love Germany anyway. I lived there for a year as part of my German degree, so I knew I loved the country. And we started off based in Cologne for a few days. I was working for Fox Sports, the USA, and I really love working for them. They really do things properly, and it's just a real pleasure to work with them. And they always put me with good people, whether it's Laurie Lindsay, former US international for the Women's World Cup last year in Australia and New Zealand, or this year they've paired us up again as for the Qatar World Cup with Warren Barton. And he's just a brilliant teammate. He really is. He's just really professional, really fun, a lot of banter, a lot of mickey taking, just really, really good team. So that's the main thing. If you get on with the people you're working with, and we saw the different teams, and Ian Dark was there, Landon Donovan. So we're all in the same hotel for the first few days. And we get on with Derek Ray as well, get on really well. Nice. Rob Green was doing it for the first time as well. So it's a good start. We're in Cologne, which is a beautiful city, by the way. It was only 1 hour from Heathrow, literally 1 hour. And I just, I'm not part of the tourism board for Germany, but I don't think we often think about going to Germany for a weekend. But it was so quick. It was so easy. Cologne was so stunning and so very nicely German and so super friendly as well. I really recommend people just come to Cologne for a weekend because it's just great.
You know what? That's a great shout, by the way. I might do that.
Yeah, we always think of Paris.
Got 6 weeks
Rome
off, so I might ask them if she wants to go to Cologne.
Do it. I just really loved the place, and everyone else raved about Dusseldorf. So I'm thinking about that because I'm in Dortmund for the ITV darts tournament I host in middle of September. I think that's when it is. Or is that Amsterdam?
I love the darts.
I think it's Amsterdam. Well. Anyway, it's later. Yeah, so Dortmund, this tournament's just across the road from Dortmund. But our first game was in Dortmund. And that was actually a nightmare because there were tens of thousands of Albanians who showed up 3 or 4 hours early, and we got there 4 hours early, but then we were delayed on the road for an hour outside. So then we were 3 hours early, which normally should be absolutely fine. But we were so delayed, they wouldn't let us in. There was issues with, you have to go to the media entrance, which is the same as the staff entrance, but it was in a cage. And in that cage was tens of thousands of Albanians. And it was Italy-Albania, our first game. So that was an absolute mess to start with. And so every other match, we made sure we got there 4 hours early. We didn't have those kind of issues after that. But we do a pitch side hit and then go up to commentate. And it was brilliant. We got the earliest goal ever, 23 seconds was it, in the Italy-Albania game for Albania. And then we got the latest goal ever, which was 100 minutes in another game. So so it was brilliant. So it was a case of commentate one day and then go. What we'd do, I think we'd, depending on the time of day of kickoff, we'd then travel to either back to the hotel or to the next city, and then next day you'd prep and travel and then commentate. So pretty much commentating every other day. Whereas in Australia and New Zealand, it was literally commentating every single day and flying every single day to another city, which was completely mad. Somebody who spends the whole week doing prep for commentary, that was pretty mad, because you have to just be really organized and have everything done up front. So you're kind of prepping and traveling the whole time. There's no time really to go out and have a beer and relax at all. I'm not complaining, but that was the reality of it, because I'm really big on player pronunciations and listening to the proper pronunciations several times, and on Y Scout all the time, and watching each individual player so I can see how they run, which foot they prefer, how they play, and just filling myself in with all that knowledge ahead of each game. So I'd always put prep ahead of everything else, really. But it was a great tournament, and it was just a shame that England couldn't go that extra step. But I was watching all the England games on TV in the different hotels. We didn't do England, but we did Netherlands a couple of times, and we're all over the country. But it was a brilliant tournament to work on. Really, really enjoyable.
Nice. What are your opinions of England's time in the Euros and obviously Southgate's exit?
Well, it was a weird one, wasn't it? Because it's so divided opinion. If you look at purely the stats of how many semis and finals, etc., he has raised the bar from. You'll remember when England were level par quarter final, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get to a quarter final, lose on penalties, that's level par, right? So he's massively raised the bar to at least semi-final now. I know the last World Cup it wasn't, but that was unfortunate for France. And in even finals, you're kind of expecting finals now, and now criticising the guy for not winning. But then people are also fair, I think, in saying that, well, the job of a good manager is to make the team greater than the sum of their parts. And people are looking at that squad and going, well, the individual parts were the best we've ever had, and look at the talent in almost every position apart from left back. And were we ever playing as if we were greater than the sum of those parts? And I think the answer is no. So I also understand that point of view. And had we gone out with it, the overhead kick that saved us, Bellingham, what have you, then it would have been a completely different story. Moments change football matches, as we know.
100%.
And that narrative was completely different. And I think, in fact, I love Gareth Southgate, really nice bloke, gave me his last ketchup sachet in the canteen once when I worked with him at IMG. So I've always liked him. And he listened to my rants about Conor Cody, how he should have been playing for England when he was nowhere near at the time. He was very polite in entertaining my nonsense. And he is an absolutely top bloke, and I would absolutely love. Yes, you see Connor. You probably can't see, but Connor's up there on my wall. I've still got him there.
What a legend!
Awesome.
I miss that
man.
guy so much.
He was out there working actually for the BBC at some of our games. But so there was that frustration that we were so close to going out. But I'd love nobody to have won it more than Gareth Southgate as the manager and Harry Kane as a player. That lad gets so much stick. Forget the form this tournament. I'm talking about his application and everything. People laughing when he came third in the league, in the Bundesliga, and he comes off the pitch and then they get knocked out of the Champions League. And people think it's really funny. And I don't really get that, because the way the guy conducts himself, how professional he is, we should be really proud to have an England captain who gives absolutely everything, who eats exactly the right food, who has a personal chef come to his house and make him specifically the right food for him to be the very best he can be. And all we do is laugh at the bloke and tease him. And take the mickey out of him for being a loser. Well,
I think it's just
hello.
an easy target, isn't it? I think that's the
But
issue
why?
with Harry Kane, and I think it's
Why
because
is he an
he is
easy
so.
target?
I think it's just because he wears the captain's armband, one, and the other thing. I'm not condoning what people are saying. I'm just saying why I think that's why he's that sort of target, and I do think it's because he doesn't aggressively go back at anybody. Like, he'll just be very nonchalant about it, which is exactly what you should be and everything. But I think because everyone feels like he's a bit of a soft touch, that they'll just get away with anything they say and everything. And I really disagree with it. I think it's the things that he's been able to do for our country, you know, the penalties that he's been able to stick away and everything to keep us in games. And I think the one thing that he suffered with in that competition is just, I just don't think he was played in the right area, and I don't think like him playing deep like he did for Spurs really made us, you know, shine in the attacking third.
And he wasn't
I think
fit. No way he was fit. He had that back injury at the end of the season. That's why he came off in the Champions League
Yeah.
semi-final. His manager said
Yeah.
he had a back injury. And he
Yeah.
looked to me like he was carrying one. I don't know if you guys have ever played with a back
Yeah.
injury. I have,
just-
and there's
he
no
just looked like he
way
didn't
he
wanna-
could be at your best.
Yeah, he didn't
No
want to
way he
risk.
could be at your best.
He didn't want to risk like a forward run or getting a bit dirty in an aerial situation and everything. So I think you're right. I actually said that in one of my watch-alongs. I said that I honestly think that he's still carrying an injury, and he's just kind of been thrown into the competition because he's such a key figure for England. I think if we had have gone, yeah, you know what, he's injured. So, you know, we'll have to limit his game time. I think everyone would have questioned the mentality of everybody else. I think it would have impacted the mentality of the dressing room. So it's one of those things. It is unfortunate with Harry Kane because he does seem like a really nice guy, and I mean, the accolades speak for himself. I think he's a phenomenal striker, and you know, he'll probably bang goals in for fun. And then everyone will be like, oh, I love Harry Kane. It's just one of those fickle things about football fans, unfortunately, isn't
But
it?
it's not that long ago since we had Fabio Capello in charge. He couldn't speak English. He didn't really care about the English culture. He was paid £6 million a year, which was masses of money back in those days, manager-wise. Huge figure. And he'd never managed internationally. And he was a great manager for AC Milan, but it was the wrong fit. And then we had John Terry as the captain, and he routinely parks in disabled bays apparently and just pays fines. And you know, there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of things about that certain former England captain that meant I didn't want him to lift a trophy in
I know
our
what you
honour.
mean, yeah.
And I didn't
I think
feel
Harry
connected
Kane
to
would.
the.
Yeah, I think Harry Kane would have been, you know, the ideal person. Everybody would have gone, yeah, he should be lifting the trophy. There's no one else who I'd have thought, you know what, that's our captain of choice. So actually, you're completely correct. I think it would have. I think we'd have struggled in games as well. I think everyone was saying, "Oh, you know what? We could play Ivan Toney, or we could play Ollie Watkins." But I think that they were used in the right ways. You know, they should come off the bench and make an impact. Maybe. I think that's the one thing actually about the competition is I think that the substitutions might have been better to be made a little bit quicker. But I feel like he made the right substitutions all the time. It's just we were all screaming at the telly to make them earlier. But
I think we can all sit back, can't we? And we can all, you know, when we did the watch along at mine, I think we can all sit back and be a backseat manager.
Yeah.
But when you're pitch side, me talking from experience, even at grassroots level, being pitch is completely different. You have a completely different outlook. You ain't got all the cameras giving you the angles of what you can see. You know, it's so different, and you have to pick up on absolutely everything, and it is really, really difficult. So there's no doubt being an international manager is probably the hardest managerial role in the world. You know, you can take a good team and you can make them slightly better, but when you've been in the job like Southgate has for so long, he's watched the players develop. I know he used to watch them a lot at like the under 17s, 18s, even under 21s, and he's looked there thinking, actually, I've got to think ahead because in 4 years' time we've got another Euros, or in 2 years' time we've got the World Cup coming up. What's my squad looking like then? And I think he does get a lot of criticism, and I think that's partly because we haven't played entertaining football,
Mm.
but we've got over the line. And a sloppy win is a win.
It is.
You know what I mean?
But
It could have been so much. We could easily be a 3-4 goal team, but the way Southgate played, because he's so defensive minded, you know, it's not entertaining to watch, but it does work, and I think he's proved that over the last couple of tournaments that he's had, and it does work. And I think we, as football fans, we all love to see goals. We all love to see screamers from 30 yards, and but I isolate him a bit, to be honest. I'll hold my hands up and say, look, I'd have done this differently. No, I do. Honestly, I do.
Shall I get the clips up?
Yeah, and I'll hold my hands up. I've been in that, as a fan. I'll just go forward.
Yeah.
Because we've got so many young attack-minded players. I think him leaving the post now is the right time. I think it's the right thing to do for him as a manager and for England as a team. I think because we've got so many young attack-minded players now, having a defensive-minded manager doesn't make sense anymore. No. As when we were a little bit poorer up front, but we were okay in the midfield and we could juggle things around a little bit and, like you say, get over the line. It worked then, and it was all right for the first couple of tournaments. I think it's slowly started to phase out, and like I say, I think it's the right time now for him to depart and say, well done, but no cigar kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it
is what it is.
I think as well. I think like it's probably good for him as well. I think like for him, like if he wants to keep doing like manager work and everything, there's definitely like places that he could do that and maybe even grow into it. Like
he's already had
manager, do you know what I mean?
He's already had chats with Man United, hasn't he?
Yeah,
with
I actually think
if it
as
doesn't
well,
all work out with Ten Hag.
I actually think as well, he's man management. I don't know if you agree with this, Jacqui, but I think his man management is his game. He's phenomenal at keeping players happy, maintaining great relationships, great friendships, and everything. He's phenomenal at that. So I wouldn't even be up against him being in the coaching staff again, like with England, and him being more of that, that hand around the shoulder sort of coach when you've got someone of a more of attacking minded manager to sort of to lead the players. I don't know if that's possible or at all, but I think I won't be.
It is possible. I don't think it'll happen. It is definitely possible, but I don't think it's right for him to have an input on England now, because I think he's had so much stick in the media, and I'll hold my hands up again, saying I've given him a little bit of jip over the course of a couple of tournaments, but I think he's got to go. I did an all right job. Look at the stats, and like Jacqui said, if you do look at the stats, he's gone well. He has raised the bar a little bit. It's not been entertaining to watch as a fan,
definitely.
But the results have been there. I personally think we should have won the tournament, but
although there's no shame in losing to Spain to a late draw. I think there was no shame in that. I think the one was Italy. When we had them, we had Italy, and we were better than Italy. We were at home, and we took the lead early on, and we sat back, and there was that awful period of time that felt like a lifetime. And we're all screaming at the TV, going, "Change something!" And the Italians apparently have since admitted, we're so glad England didn't change anything, because they had all these stars on the bench that could really hurt us.
They were shattered, weren't they, as well? Italy, they're absolutely shattered.
That's one thing that we look back on and go, yeah, so I think there will always be that. But I think on the plus side is man management. I mean, I can't remember any England players crying off because they didn't want to be part of this England side. They all showed up. There have been admissions over the years of, the likes of Jamie Carragher and saying, I didn't want to be there. My priority was Liverpool. And Gareth Southgate has generated a culture whereby there are no more cliques anymore. They're not sitting on separate tables, and they want to be there, and they love him, and he's a brilliant man manager. And I don't think we talk about man management enough in football. We talk about a manager as if they're all a homogenous breed and they're all like each other. They're not. Some of them, like Sir Alex Ferguson, was an incredible man manager, couldn't coach for toffee. The players would laugh if he ever tried to coach. He didn't do any coaching. He was no good at it, but he was an incredible manager. Then you've got others who are brilliant coaches, Steve McLaren type, not really the man management type.
Yeah.
He maybe wants to be friends with all the players. And so it's quite rare to be able to get the two together. And that's what Pep Guardiola is. And he's a phenomenal phenomenon, if such a thing exists.
Exactly. Yeah.
But having both of them is quite unusual. So that's why, and we don't talk about it a lot, but backroom staff is such an important ingredient. You look at Steven Gerrard when he was at Villa, did okay for a while, as he did at Rangers, but that's because he had Mick Beale. And as soon as Mick Beale went off, he was like a fish out of water, and he wasn't a coach. That's not him. So it's very much a combination of staff and manager, and making sure you get that right blend, because they're not the same entity without the right people around them.
It's so difficult. Like I say, talking from experience, it's such a hard job. And, you know, watching as a fan, watching on as a manager, even watching from the bench as a player, you know, they're three completely different outlooks on the game. Because you think of a player, you know, you look on, how can I impact the game? What's his movement doing? Blah, blah, blah. As a manager, you've got to watch everybody's movement. Your team, the opposition, what they've got on the bench, what you've got on the bench, what formation they're playing. You know, you've got to take in so much information in the first 10 minutes of the game, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail, and it is really difficult.
Yeah. So, cool. We talked about England a little bit. Obviously, we're just getting into the nitty gritty now of pre-season. Wolves going out to the USA to play a few teams and everything, get a little bit more minutes in the legs and everything. But I'd like to know, Jacqui, what is your opinion of the current Wolves squad and of Gary O'Neill?
Yeah, I like Gary O'Neill a lot. I like him as a person. I like him as a manager. I think he's really promising. And I hope that it's a positive union for about another 4 years, frankly, if that's not too optimistic. And I hope it continues to grow, because I think Wolves are good for him. And I think he's very good for Wolves. And I was pretty worried, I'll be honest, by the end of last season with the way things went.
Yeah.
And I was worried for a little while, are we even going to be able to keep him? You know, because there's so much that's gone on, and you know, the leadership of the club and stuff have been questioned, and they're not getting the striker that he wanted, and the squad imbalance was pretty radical. I mean, it really was. It's been such an imbalanced squad, and that the striker situation over the years, since signing Raul Jimenez, after that, it's been, frankly, a bit of a shambles, hasn't it, in terms of the number 9 signing. We all know about Fabio Silva, and that was an extraordinary signing, which has had very little scrutiny. And I just I can't even say his name or look at his picture without thinking, what an extraordinary waste of £35 million at a time when Wolves did not need a kid, an 18-year-old with 1 league goal to his name, for that amount of money. They needed to spend the money elsewhere on a senior backup to Raul Jimenez. We had one striker at the time, and they signed him as the only other backup. And then Raul did his awful fractured skull. And Wolves have been, frankly, battling to stay up to various degrees of success ever since. And I just think the striker situation, and the fact that Gary O'Neill didn't get that striker last season when it was clear that Wolves needed one and he needed one. And I just thought he did an incredible job at the start of that season. You know, we've talked loads about how he, you know, came in, and the performance at Man United blew my mind. And never mind the result, which was unjust overall in terms of penalty, but all the rest of it. And I just think he's a really good manager. Wolves need to get behind. Fans do, I think, see it now. The ones who had that wobble with the Luton away game, though there's a red card and a very harsh penalty involved, and then of course the Ipswich away game. And I think that's people realised quite how good Ipswich were as well. And turning it around with the Man City win. And I think that and the Monday Night Football situation, and people really realising that actually got a really good manager on our hands here. And he's new too. This is his first ever pre-season as a manager, which I think is huge to go in just before the start of the season and just make the best of a bad situation with an imbalanced squad, and the fact that, you know, the new strikers have been signed, and they're, you know, playing strikers who are not strikers, and all the rest of it. So I think it's really interesting now to see how Wolves managed to build the squad. I think very much in need of another centre half. I'm not convinced about Santi Bueno at all in the Premier League. Hopefully, it was just teething problems in the first year, but for a Uruguayan, I think you'd expect them to be beefier and more physical. And I think Wolves have been a bit of a soft touch at the back at times. And so I'd definitely like to see more strength and depth. Really admire Craig Dawson, but need more options back there. And hopefully Mosquera will be fantastic. But I really, really think they need to strengthen there. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were to make another big sale, the likes of Pedro Neto, but it's about getting the right fee. You can't let him go for 40 million. But then with his injury record in recent times, that may well have put off potential suitors, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he were to go. And I just really want to see another season of Lamina and Gomez flourishing and thriving together, preferably in their favoured positions, if that's possible. The squad balance, Joao Gomez, really, really exciting talent. And I love the team spirit. I think that's fantastic. I think, again, it comes back to the manager being of a similar-ish age to players, knowing what their mentality is. I don't think Gary O'Neill gets enough credit for the career he had as a player, just because he wasn't a household name as such. I think those of us who watch football at all levels every week knew what a good player he was. He just wasn't that sexy name that grabbed headlines. But he was a very, very good Premier League footballer with a lot of Premier League experience. And he knows football inside out. He's a fantastic tactician, and he's a really good man manager, coming back to our previous conversation about England. So I'm definitely a big admirer of his, and I really want him to be there for quite some time. And I really hope he gets the players that he wants. And I'm really pleased with the relationship that he has with Matt Hobbs. They seem to get on really well. They seem to have a really good rapport, which is so important. I just hope that higher up, the rapport is what needs to be there. I just hope. I don't like the structure, I'll be honest. I don't like not having a Laurie Dalrymple figure. I don't like the lack of communication. It doesn't. Oh, look, it's not my favoured way of doing things. If you've got a chairman who doesn't feel comfortable talking in the media, fine. But I think you need to have other people who communicate with the fans. I'm a massive fan of communication. Might sound obvious in my job, but I think fans need it. I think fans deserve it. I think it's in the club's interest that they have somebody senior speaking clearly, speaking to fans, because a lot of times they don't have anything to hide, or they might have major challenges like the new government, for example. But you have to communicate what those challenges are. And I think Wolves fans are intelligent enough to understand that there are financial challenges, that they don't swim in the same waters as some of the clubs in the league. Maybe they don't want to communicate more because there are uncomfortable questions. But as a journalist, I would love to be able to ask unfettered, questions to those in authority. But that doesn't happen at Wolves. And maybe there's a reason for that, because they maybe don't want to have to give certain answers about, I want to hear them talk about Molineux. I want to hear about, well, when are you going to renovate the Steve Ball stand? What plans do you have? Are you purely waiting for Wolves to consolidate a top 10, top 7, top 8? What are you waiting for? Like, how long do Wolves fans have to wait? Are there any plans at all to move out the area? Probably not. There are probably no plans at all. But I was co-hosting the end of season awards with Johnny Phillips when Laurie Dalrymple unveiled that spectacular plan for a new stadium. That's gone away, and I don't really hear people talk about this. And I just personally want a lot more communication, honest communication, quality communication. I know they have a fans parliament, is it called?
I'm on the fans advisory board. I'm actually on that. I actually went to the meeting with the trust,
Right.
and there wasn't a single person in that room that didn't want action in one way or another to get more communication, because frankly the communication was laughable. We didn't receive any communication after even having like over 13,000 signatures on all against what they were doing with the ticketing situation and everything. And I feel like everybody's kind of brushing that under the table now. We aren't at the Wolfpack at all, and I can say that to every single Wolves fan creator. I was in a room with every single one of them the other day when we were talking about the Charity Cup, and every single one of them are not letting it just slide with everything that was going on before, because the changes that have actually been made haven't actually, it's like papering over the cracks, isn't it? Because really what the changes have been made so far is freezing tickets for next season and getting rid of all of the price increases on over 14s. Everything else is still the same. So our old age pensioners are still treated like dirt. The people that have been supporting the club longer than anybody else in the whole stadium treated like dirt. The guy that sits next to me, I've actually had to give him my ticket because he couldn't go anymore. He'd been going since, before the South Bank looked the way it is now. And hearing like stories of different people coming towards us and saying, look, I'm not going to be able to afford it next season. It was just really, really disappointing. And I know that the club has to advance and everything, but we just found it an absolute radical decision to increase things to the level that they did. And still, I mean, you look at we haven't talked about it because I've been on a bit of a hiatus, but people that are watching now, there's nearly 900 of you here. I can honestly say that the prices that I've seen for the actual entry fee tickets, which I'm going to have to start paying now, are even more questionable, to be honest. Like some of those are, you're talking like nearly £80 if you want to sit in the Billy right now. It's just ridiculous.
I think one of the reasons that they've done that, speaking to a football finance expert, is he says it's because they want to prove to potential investors or buyers, look at the money we generate. This is how much money we bring in. Yeah. So the fact that the prices have to be high enough to prove to potential buyers that they can command this income. But they obviously didn't count on the fact that a lot of Wolves fans who can't afford to pay that money or can afford it and choose not to because they think it's wrong, are going to stand up against that. And I think what happened at that time was it was right at the end of the season when a lot of people had gone on holiday. And I know for a fact they have some excellent people in the media team. And I didn't bother them during that time because, they're on call all season round. So just after the season had finished, they don't need to be called upon just as they're on holiday with their families and getting some rare time off. So I'm convinced that was the case, that the timing of it meant that people were away and therefore it didn't get addressed. But I think that's why the ticket prices have gone up so much, is because they want to prove to potential investors that this is the money that they can bring in. But at the same time, it's not going to look good to any potential investors or buyers if you've got an uprising on your hand from fans who feel that they've been shut out. Wolves is a local club. Yeah, we got some glory hunters. I used to travel up from London with them every Saturday because glory hunters from the days when Wolves were good, and they happily admit that. But these days, it's not glory hunters supporting Wolves. The ones going every week tend to be the ones who are from the area or for whatever reason have got massively into Wolves and want to support them. And it's so easy for kids to support more glamorous teams. I've tried for 13 years to get my kids to support Wolves. My son not interested at all, and suddenly goes to Old Trafford. Took him on a tour, and he's the biggest Man United fan you've ever seen, because it's not cool in the playground to support Wolves when you're from Surrey, because they all support Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool and Man United. So you have to look after the supporters who choose Wolves over those teams. And when I was at school, there were plenty of kids there who supported Liverpool because they were the team at the time that people wanted to be associated with because they were winners. And that never personally appealed to me. I don't understand it. I do not understand attaching yourself to a supposedly bigger club, because that's not an attractive thing to me. Being associated with your hometown club for me is absolutely everything. And I'm so proud that wherever I go in the world, literally anywhere. I was in a lift in Houston recently and the guy said, "Hey, I love your accent. Where are you from?" And I didn't say London, where I live, or England. I said, "I'm from Wolverhampton." And my co-commentator had to go, "She's just from England. She's just from England." Because he looked at me like I was mad. But I take every opportunity to say I'm from Wolverhampton because I'm supremely proud of that fact. And that's a positive thing, not a negative thing. But you have to look after those fans who are prepared to fight for the badge, who are prepared to stand up and say, "I'm proudly from Wolverhampton. This is my team. Do not alienate me." And unfortunately, the leadership in recent times led by one man who chooses not to have that CEO anymore, who did unite the supporters, who was absolutely fantastic for supporters. They've chosen that structure and that hierarchy, and that involves not sharing anything with fans because they don't want, or he doesn't want the fans to know what's really going on. So for me, that's really, really unhealthy, really unhealthy. And so it's in his interest to support Matt Hobbs and Gary O'Neill to give them what they need so that fans can focus on what's going on the pitch. That's the next best thing. And let's face it, that's our escapism. That's our passion. That's some fans won't be deterred from protesting and making their feelings felt, but some will put it to one side because there's enough negativity in the world and in our lives the rest of the time that 90 whatever minutes on a Saturday afternoon is somewhere we can lose ourselves and hope to be entertained and hope to be proud of that badge that we wear with honour on our chest.
We spoke about it, didn't we, Dan, when we did our podcast at mine on the ticket sales and stuff, and we were fuming, weren't we? I think we were speaking for tens of thousands of Wolves fans across the world, you know, not just in England, just, you know, but people who travel, you know, it's not just about the season ticket price, it's about the travel to get there, the parking, you know, all these little factors that come in. If you've got to get a babysitter, for instance, or whatever, you know, just so they can go and watch their beloved club. And I think when it goes back to the communication, I think we've got to look at it and go, okay, he's not big on communication. However, is he starting to buy into Gary O'Neill? Because if he is, he's actually probably in a roundabout way, not a way I agree with, but in a roundabout way, he's actually still supporting us as a club and still giving us what we actually need. I think when Jacqui obviously spoke to the money expert, I think he has probably got a sale in mind. You know, I don't have any grounds to say that, but I think you wouldn't really be trying to prove how much money you're generating without going, okay, in 1 or 2 years' time, we're probably going to sell this club. But you never know. You know, he could be here for another 5 or 6, 7 years, and it's one of them. We've just got to sit back and see what happens. But I think the signings have definitely helped, and I think, you know, when we sit back as fans and go, actually, we haven't had a big signing for a while, or, you know, we've got someone on the cheap who's turned out to be an absolutely excellent signing, and we've had to be very, very smart with that team.
Right.
We're not a big six club, you know.
Yeah.
We've got to look at it and go, actually, we can't go out and buy a Haaland. We can't afford to get
Alfinger.
Yeah. We can't afford to get Mbappe on a free because his wages are going to be too much. It's great having a free transfer like Real Madrid have just done, but the guy's on like £12 million a year, and it's like it's £1 million a month. Like we can't afford that. As we'd love to have an Mbappe signing, but you've got to talk realism, haven't you? And, you know, when it comes under finances, it's not just about bringing players in and selling players. It's about your ticket sales. It's about commissions that you're making, sponsorships. You know, there's so many little details that go into it. You know, we spoke about it when we did the whole podcast on it. But, you know, it's difficult to manage, and I think communication would absolutely help our club. Absolutely, and I'm all for it, you know, but I just don't think we're going to get it. I think we're fighting and losing battle, and it is a real shame because we are the type of club, and our people, we're the type of people who just want to know stuff, and because Wolves are so close to our hearts, you know, you don't really see it, like Jacqui said, the glory hunting supporters supporting Wolves anymore. I think you did once upon a time, you know, in the good old days, but you don't really see that. And, you know, you see a lot of people from the town and the city of Wolves going, well, we've supported this club since we were nippers and we're now in our 80s. Do you know what I mean? And they are, they've seen all the glory days and
Attract
they've
those youngsters
watched.
now because they will go off to Man United and whoever
I think that's
else.
why they've changed
Yeah.
the youngsters
to.
price. I
Yeah.
think that's why they've changed the youngsters price, because it actually works financially for them to keep them in and because they're obviously the next paying customer, aren't they? Just a little bit more about that, Jacqui, because I know we had a little conversation about the what was going on at the time. Since then, obviously, there's obviously been some improvements and everything. But I just want to say a little bit about Jeff from my personal sort of run-ins and what have you. He's not the nicest fellow, really, to be honest, to deal with. He's very spiky. It took 3.5 hours to come up with a settlement of, okay, well, we'll do this then. And then when they were agreeing, handshaking, signing the dotted line, he's nearly changed it back again to not freezing next season. So what frustrates me is, from a PR standpoint, he's literally destroyed his reputation. And in a way, he didn't really need to do that. What he should have done was say, right, it should have come out and gone, right, look, we're having to make more revenue. We're in a bit of a PSR nightmare last season. So we had to sell a load of players. Now we're in a little bit of a better situation, but we've got to sell a player to make some revenue, to bring some money in to start buying players. But we've got a load of players that we're really interested in, including the number 9. That's our main target. And if he'd have said all of this, then we'd have been like, okay, fair enough. But he said absolutely nothing. And then the ticket prices just came out on an email. And it's like, if that
Just
had
on
been
an email,
actually,
not on the club website either, yeah.
no, literally just an email to everybody on, if you're going to renew, this is the renewal price. Then they had to actually go into great detail to look at where prices were high, because they didn't actually release a matrix telling everybody as to what prices were, spiked in the specific way. We had to actually make that sort of information for ourselves. It was just a very, very weird thing. And then all of this happened, and then you start to learn about Sudo, and then you start to learn about Fosun Sports being like a massive investor in Sudo, and so that all of the revenue from a CD company is going to start to feed into the Fosun Sports. But then you don't know whether, if that money going into Fosun Sports is actually going into the club or not, or it's just going to Fosun. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a very, very weird. It was a very weird time to be a Wolves fan, and
It still
especially
is, isn't it? It
on
still
the
is
Wolfpack.
in parts. There's so much uncertainty. We just want a little chat, don't we? Let's face it. We just want to go, okay, can I have an answer to this question? Can I have an answer to this question? But
they're not
we
going
won't
to
get that
provide
now.
that kind of live chat because there are too many difficult questions that they don't want to answer,
And
such as the
it's
ownership,
so
the
far gone,
sponsorship.
isn't it? It's so far gone now. We'd just be absolutely bombarded with questions from all over the place. And, it'd be something like, okay, well, who are Sudo then? From why have you boosted the ticket prices so high? You know what I mean? There's going to be so many questions just going at him now. We aren't going to get that chance, and we're not going to get answers to the questions we want. It's just,
The thing is,
figure it out.
While we're on the subject of Sudo, the actual quality of the shirt is phenomenal, by the way. The shirt quality is absolutely phenomenal.
I've not seen it in person
It's
yet.
actually probably better than Castora. I did a little shirt review on it. The quality is a lot better.
Have you got it there behind you?
Yeah. The money in general that they're getting in, hopefully, if that's going to Wolves, it's a phenomenal idea to cut out the middleman like Nike and Adidas and everything. I get why they're doing it. It's just there's no communication. So on the groundwork, it just looks super seedy to just randomly have a company that has never worked with a football club in their life to then be working with the Premier League football team. It's like something you'd hear in like non-league football. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the weirdest thing. And and you know, if it works out, it pays to be a decent risk. I just worried at the money that is it going to the club or is it going to Fosun Sports? Because when you look at it, a lot of it's just going to their sports network. So who knows?
It's hard to look at, and it like obviously we absolutely live and breathe football, and it's our job to kind of deep dive into it. But you look at it and go, do we really need to know? Probably not. Do we want to know? Absolutely. and I think that's exactly the way Fosun will be looking. Well, they don't need to know it. Do you know what I mean? That's for us to look at the finances. Why do the fans need to know? We need to know because we want to know. There is actually no need, is there? But it's one of them ones.
I don't know. I just, to be honest, if we're going to talk about the new season, to be honest, it's one of those things. I just want us to look like a successful club with a decent squad. You know, really invest in Gary O'Neill, because I mean, from the first game when he played against Man United away, I was sold, to be honest with you, because I just saw what he did to these players, like Cunha. We were all thinking 50 odd million for him. Why? But then literally he made Cunha in that Man United game look like just unreal, just unbelievable player. And he's done that across the board with every player. Every single player you look at, every single player you look at, you could argue that they're at least a little bit better than they were under Lopetegui, Bruno Lage, even Nuno.
I'd say massively. I think they've come on leaps and bounds under Gary O'Neill. And this is why I've been stressing so much back end of last season, where we go, give him pre-season. Yeah. Because in this pre-season, this is huge for him. As a manager.
Support him in what he needs as well and balance that squad, which is a balance of having to lose players. But yeah, I think he can rescue the leadership of the club in a way by taking eyes away from there and taking hearts away from there as well, because if it all goes to pot on the pitch, that's where the focus will be. But if they start well and fans get excited about the club again, they'll start spending money again. You know how it works. But I just think that kind of unity that the squad has with the coaching staff, it is just around that, isn't it? But you just want, personally, I want people at the club to be happy as well as just the players. I don't want them to be cocooned from the rest of the world. Because having been going to that club for 30-something years, and since I've been doing this job in the last 22 years or whatever, going in that capacity, just knowing people at the club and as they sort of tend to die, sadly, Rachel Hayhoe-Flint, obviously Sir Jack Hayward before that, but also, Graham Hughes, people like that, the real lifeblood of the club. Those kind of people to me mean a lot when I go to a club and I see the guy in security with a massive smile and we have a lovely chat and people on reception and people behind the scenes. That those people to me really make the club. They really make the ones who are fans, and you want them to be happy. You want them to be happy going to work every day and to be treated well. They matter to me every bit as much as the players on the field do, because 100%. In 10, 15 years time, I don't know who we'll have on Wolves podcast as former players to come back. I don't know, because they'll all be back in Brazil and Portugal and anywhere else. But so it's all the people at the club that really matters to me, and I just hope everybody's getting treated well. I really hope so, and I hope everyone's pulling in the same direction. And if that's the case, then brilliant.
Cool. Last subject then, Jacqui, then you can get off. What is your sort of predictions for the new Premier League season, and who is your captain of choice?
Captain's an easy one for me. Lamina, definitely. I think he should have been last summer, but I understand the reasoning. I just think I love his vibe. I love his personality. I love his commitment. I love his drive. I love his humour. I love his smile. I love everything about Lamina in that regard. You want a galvanising person. And Kilman, I think, was a fantastic player for the club for many years, but I always questioned about the leadership side of things. He was never a natural captain for me. I understand why he was given the armband, definitely. But, and I'm, again, being glass half full, I see it as an opportunity to replace him with somebody who maybe has those qualities, who is more vocal, who has that kind of personality to lead. And of course, no one's going to be a Conor Cody. They don't grow on trees, but I loved that galvanizing element that Cody had. I honestly loved that, the way he treated mascots, the way he treated staff members, the way he spoke to fans, the way he spoke to the media and fronted up all the time. And of course, Max Kilman did loads of interviews last year, and I'm certainly not criticising him at all. I just want somebody who has that kind of drive about them and is a bit more of a leader, really. So I hope we sign another one. So Lemina for captain for me. And in terms of the season, I always find it impossible at this time of year to predict how things are going to go, because pre-season really is to keep the players ticking over, to get the manager to put his, various tactical points of view across to the players when they've got time away to bond. That's great. But things can really change, of course, personnel-wise. So it's just impossible. I think if we manage to sign that leader at the back with a bit of experience, Premier League know-how, hopefully it might be that one more has to go out the door, an expensive one, but with a good quality replacement. I think that's fine, whether it's Aït-Nouri, phenomenal talent, but if crazy money comes in for him and it can be reinvested incredibly wisely, then there we go. That makes a lot of sense. Just not João Gomez yet, please, because I don't think we can afford to rip up the centre of the midfield. I think that's too important. So hopefully it'll be positive, but it's a really difficult start, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually argue that Aït-Nouri is a bigger loss than João Gomez. I think Aït-Nouri is irreplaceable. Like there's no player like him available at the moment, and
not like for like, but it might have to be a different. It might have to be a different profile of player, because you're not going to get that profile of player.
No,
but I
not
think.
A chance.
And I know everyone's a big fan of Nelson Semedo, and I'm not being critical at all. I know the manager absolutely loves him, doesn't he? He's said that many times. But for all his athleticism and the positives he brings, he does not offer either a goal threat or any assists ever. He just doesn't. No. He averages one a season for each, if that. Yeah. And I think you need more. So therefore, if it's not going to come from the right wing back position, it has to come from the. So I just think we need more of a goal threat throughout the side, and it frustrates me slightly that so little end product comes from that side of the field. But I just wouldn't be surprised if another one went for big money. No. But that's fine as long as it's reinvested and wisely for cheaper, maybe younger, more. Look at the money that was spent on Tommy Doyle. I thought what a fantastic signing he's proved
Brilliant
to be.
signing.
And there are bargains out there if you look. They just are.
Yeah,
I think it'll be interesting what you say about the right side. I think obviously with Pedro Lima coming in and Rodrigo Gomez, who can both play there, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see. I think Semedo will start most of the season. I think there will be a little bit of rotation though, and
going to a back four will be interesting as well, because I think Semedo buckles under a back four.
Exactly. I think he's very much a right side of a back five kind of player. He drives forward, and he like Jacqui said, he doesn't offer much assists or goals, but he certainly gets in the right position too. So his end product hasn't been as good as we'd probably like in an entertainment kind of value kind of way, but
he shut players down. I think with the
young players, I think with the young ones who can learn from him, I think he's a handy player to keep around the squad. And,
oh, definitely.
And train the contract expiring next year and being able to talk to potential suitors in January, and does that take his eye off the ball if he's then talking to potential new clubs? That's a question.
His actual contract's extreme as well, isn't it? Like he's the highest earning player out under Sarabia, I think. So does that also think he probably wouldn't sign a contract under a smaller wage? And I don't.
You've got to look at his age as well, though. He's around the 30 mark now, is he? 29, 30?
Beyond, about 32, isn't he?
Oh, is he? Yeah, but older than I thought then. And obviously, like you say, Sarabia as well. We brought them in because of where they've been.
30, right? Be 31 in November. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarabia is an interesting one as well, isn't it?
I mean, Sarabia is what, 30, 33, 34 now?
I think Gary O'Neill likes Sarabia, though, to be fair.
Not at first. I mean, he didn't offer anything at first. Did you notice? And he can still have games where he doesn't offer anything, but then he can have games like the Spurs home game, for example. He's got incredible quality. I don't think there's any
Yeah.
doubt about his quality, but he's not necessarily for every game. But
He's
Wolves
not
was
shown it
so
enough.
stretched thin in that squad that he had to play so many games that he wasn't actually suited to.
Mm.
But you just hope with having options. And again, I think the exciting thing is Gary getting a pre-season and a few new faces in. And he just needs an opportunity to show what he can do, because he didn't really get up. Back end of last season was just really suffering from the poor decisions that have been made over the years. Really, really poor. The lack of striking options and signing players who are always injured and stuff. And it's just been a bizarre stretch over the last few years of trying to cover up and kind of patch up a side that's never really had that balance. And the fact that Neto was the only winger in the entire squad, and then of course he got badly injured. So seeing a balanced side will be interesting. The other thing that I think is interesting is whether the goalkeeper will stay or not, Jose Sarr, because I don't think he's necessarily a Gary O'Neill type of player in terms of his distribution.
He's not a sweeper at all, is he?
Yeah, and the way that Gary clearly likes to play, the way that he likes his teams to play. I mean, I know he's new to management, but it's pretty obvious how he likes to play, isn't it? I think we've all picked up what he's putting down on that front. And I don't think he necessarily gets enough out of the goalkeeper from that point of view. Very good goalkeeper, of course he is. It's not like it's an urgent thing, but I just wouldn't be surprised if in an ideal world there wasn't something done there, that he manages to get somebody in that would maybe suit his style better. Again, that might be a slow burner. It might happen next summer or even the summer after. But I think given the way he likes his sides to play, I think they could get a lot of help from the goalkeeper, because that's the modern game now. Goalkeeper is a huge part of how you play out from the back. It really, really is. And Wolves aren't able to do that at the moment.
So we've been linked to like so many goalkeepers. It's mad. Both of a sort of young stature, and then you've got like some goalkeepers that are like in sort of Jose Sarr's age range as well. So it's been quite strange seeing how many goalkeepers we've been linked to. So that's got to sort of result in some sort of change. But from what I've been told, there's probably not going to be much movement there. I think there's more after Max left. I think there's the focus has changed a little bit more. They tend to want to focus more on replacing players now, and I don't think that now, especially now Bentley's been sort of linked to a move as well.
Has he though?
Yeah. He got linked to Arsenal quite heavily. To be fair,
yeah, it was only because they needed to keep a pre-season though, wasn't it?
Well, they offered an awful contract, to be honest. But then they offered they said they were going to offer a second one, and they still haven't. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think it is interesting what Jacqui said about Jose Sarr. We've been saying that ever since, really. We've been playing out from the back, which has been God knows how long. I can't even remember the last time we haven't. We've been playing out from the back for God knows how long. And Jose Sarr, he's even come out himself and said that he's not that kind of goalkeeper. In training,
he's quite an old-fashioned goalkeeper in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a very strong shot stopper.
An unreal shot stopper. Absolutely unreal. It reminds me of David De Gea in the fact that he's phenomenal with.
He even looks like him, doesn't he?
Yeah, if a ball was coming at him from a decent distance and you can see it through a bunch of players, he's probably going to save it pretty much, which is phenomenal. But when you're playing out the back, it leads us into so many dangerous territories. I mean, the amount of times he's played a suicide ball straight down the middle into the throat of a midfielder back towards the goal, and he's just led into just absolute just chaos. Just sometimes I just don't really feel like he needs to do anything like that. He just needs to put his foot on the ball, look about a bit, pass it around. And you could argue that, to be fair, the players in front of him haven't really been great at
mate,
passing
honestly,
the ball around.
I'd rather him kick it up the pitch.
Yeah,
because I think his playing out from the back is shocking. Like,
he's playing out from the back I think
so dangerous. Like,
but I do think our centre backs as well. Our centre backs as well have been guilty of being on the ball too long, and the amount of goals we've given away for just a centre back or actually, to be honest, Semedo a couple of times.
Well, like we said, it's a whole defensive unit, isn't it? You know, you don't just play your goalkeeper as your goalkeeper. He comes into that back line, and you know, when you're trying to do that with a keeper who's not as confident with the ball at his feet as he is stopping a shot from 6 yards to 25 yards out, you know, goalkeepers pride themselves now in the modern game on being just as good as a defender as your centre backs.
It's a huge part of the modern game. Huge part. Having a goalkeeper who can ping a pass to your left winger, your right winger, your central midfielder, your centre forward, play through the centre, gets everybody else up the pitch because you've got an extra centre half in there effectively.
The prime example, it's going to shock you. I think he'll get the Golden Glove as well this season. Vicario from Spurs. I think he is an unreal goalkeeper.
Yeah. It's the high line, isn't it? The fact that they play such a high line, they basically rely on him.
That's what I mean. You look at the Spurs defence, and the Spurs defence ain't one of the best in the league. You know, they've got some good players in and around it, but it's not up there. It's not a back four you'd pick to keep your goalkeeper safe. But Vicario, he does that job, and I think Wolves need that as well. I think we need somebody who can, especially if we're going to a back four. I think we need someone to be that fifth man, and just you know, if we need to go home, play it safe. Absolutely sound. Cool. And we don't need to panic watching it. I'm there watching Jose Sol the ball at his feet. I'm just like, smash it up the
amount of videos I've got of me literally just screaming profanities at him when he just cannot get rid of the bloody ball when it's passed to him. It's just I could make an actual book of like.
I honestly, I hate when Wolves play out from the back. And I know it's a massive part of the modern game, and you do have to grin and bear it. But oh god, it petrifies me. I think that's me there with my fan head on. Like I'd rather their strikers not get the ball, and I'd rather their defence like have it, and they have to start up there rather than on our goal line. But
sorry, Jacqui. I've only just seen your message, sweet. I'm gonna say now that Jacqui, you are able to leave. I'm sorry. I'm really, really
sorry. Put my kids to bed. I'm so sorry. They're supposed to go an hour and a half ago, but
bless you. Sorry.
No.
I really,
my husband's
really
out
appreciate
having
you.
a beer and a curry, so I was supposed to be the responsible parent tonight.
Yeah. No, I really, really appreciate you having you on. I know we've gone through the comments over and over, and I've seen so many positive comments about like what you've said and your story and how you go about your day-to-day life as a commentator and presenter and everything. It's been an absolute honour having you on here, and I'm sure Kyle feels the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a pleasure, Jacqui. So thank you so much, and all the best with everything.
Oh, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
We'll have to say you'll have to say hi when we're at the Molyneux, and hopefully on a win, because I'm not the best person to talk to when we're losing.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be lovely to see you. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. All the best, Jacqui. Take care.
See you later. Bye. Bless her.
There we are.
Amazing. What a legend. What a legend.
Yeah, quality. What a story as well, by the way.
I know. I love how passionate she is for Wolves, man.
Oh, mate, it's class. It's class, and I think in her job she has to bottle so much of that up. I think it's nice for her to just
find that really
have a little
tricky,
bit of a release.
I would.
I don't know if I would. You know, I think in a sense I would.
Yeah.
But I think the way she handles herself is fantastic. I think, you know, she comes across as such a hard-working lady, where it's admirable. It really is. But
right, we're going to go through the comment. Yeah, we're going to go through the comments in a minute. There's 996 of you here. Only 7 of you guys have liked this video. That's terrible. Come on, do better. You can do better than that. That would be really, really amazing if you could get that statistic up.
I've got to be honest, I was so tempted just to go, "Shalom, Jacqui," when she came in. I was so tempted, but I thought, I better not.
You know what? She probably gets that all the time as well.
Shalom.
So maybe probably not the best idea. Anyway, you can see something I've popped up on the screen here. What is this, you might say?
Mate,
well,
class.
this This is the Wolves Content Creators Cup. It's a 7-a-side tournament. There's going to be 10 teams in the cup. It's on the Saturday, the 7th of September, at the Compton Training Ground, and tickets are available now. You can buy them now using the link that will be in the comments of this video. And can I link you now? Don't know if I can, actually. I know what I can do. Yeah, I'll have to send it you after. But yeah, phenomenal day. It's going to be really, really amazing. Myself and Kyle will be playing, as well as all the other guys at the Wolfpack as well. So there's a load of people to meet.
Mate, I've not
from
played
our
there
side of things
since I was in the youth. I cannot wait. Honestly, mate, it's going to be incredible.
As you can see, though, it's not just for fun. This is for the Wolves Foundation, which are a really amazing charity. I want to say a little bit about the Wolves Foundation, actually, because I hadn't met anyone from the Wolves Foundation other than obviously one of the ambassadors. That's Reaper, but I had not met anyone who's obviously kind of the person that's kind of leading the charge and whatever. But I'd like to talk about the Wolves Foundation because I learned quite a lot when I went to the draw, which we're going to talk about in a minute, for all the teams and everything. The Wolves Foundation, although they work obviously with the Wolves badge next to them, and you think, oh my god, I bet they get loads of money and loads of help. They actually don't, and it's not something. It's not. It sounds awful when I say that, obviously, but it's not because Wolves don't invest in it, because they do. But the trouble is, they're a very self-run organisation, basically. So as much as the club helps out, which they do, it's still not enough to do what they actually want to do, the things that they want to do in the community. They've already done so much for the community. It's insane. They work with the homeless. They work with patients with dementia. They do days out for these kind of people. These kinds of people.
Birmingham Children's Hospital and
they do,
the New Cross Hospital as well, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of work for hospices and hospitals across the Midlands, not just in Wolves. But what I'm really basically what I really wanted to say about the Wolves Foundation is, it's our way as Wolves fans to give something back to the people that really need it. It's easy.
Am I
for
right
us
in saying Danny Bott set that up?
I'm not sure. I'll have to do some research.
Someone do some digging. Someone listening, have a little dig, because I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah. So basically, they're just a really phenomenal foundation to get your money involved in, because the things that I've seen basically changed my perspective on it completely, because I thought that they were really heavily invested in by the club and everything, and it was one of those things where they were just kind of like, oh look, we're a charity, blah blah. No, they work really hard to earn money and it all goes to the foundation, and it all goes into various things that help the foundation, and all the things that they do. So really amazing charity to get involved in. So you're thinking, ooh, I want a bit of that. How do I get involved, Dan? Well, if you head to justgiving.com and search for the football tournament hosted by the Wolves Foundation, it's called the Always Wolves Charity Football Tournament for Wolverhampton Wanderers Foundation by a lady called Emma Milton. You can go over to there and you can give towards the target of 5,000. We are at £345 at the moment, but that's mainly to just the content creators, really. But obviously, please get involved. I'm actually going to share this link in the chat, so hopefully that works. Did that work?
It'll
Can you
be
see in the chat?
such a good day, man.
Fantastic.
Like Dan said, you know, it's such a good cause, and they do so much for children, families, young people. Like Dan said, the homeless. You know, there's loads and loads of stuff. But what an occasion! And this is the important bit. Let's go.
So this is the Wolves Content Creators Cup 2024. There's 10 teams involved. We've got the old Goal Pack. We've got WCRFM, which is the popular radio station over in Wolverhampton. We've got the best team there, the Wolfpack. We've got the Wolves media team and also the Wolves Foundation. You've got Always Wolves. You've got Wolves Fancast. You've got Talking Wolves, the 77 Club, and you've got the Wolves Report as well. So there's loads and loads of amazing
shout
content
out to them as well, by the way.
Exactly.
Shout out to them for getting involved, and
definitely.
You know,
definitely.
it wouldn't be possible without everyone. So,
amazing, Neil. Neil says the link works. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Neil.
Class.
I'm actually going to go through the comments in a minute as well. So get involved in the comments, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about things that, we haven't mentioned already. So Group A is the best group, of course. Actually, no, Group B is the best group. What am I talking about?
I was going to say,
Group B is the best group. So in Group A, you've got Always Wolves, you've got Wolves Fancast, Wolves Media, Wolves Foundation, and the Wolves 77 Club. That's in Group A. And then in Group B, you got Wolves Report, Wolfpack, I don't know who they are. You got WCRFM, Old Gold Pack, and Talking Wolves. Our first game is against the Wolves Report. So should be interesting. Lovely guys, by the way. All of these people I met, other than I think Harry from the 77 Club. I met all of the guys that are behind various content creators for the Wolves, and absolutely amazing people. All really, really lovely people, really passionate about Wolves, and do this from the kindness of our hearts, really. I mean, some of them earn a little bit from sponsors and everything, but a lot of this is genuinely on the side work that we just do just because we love it. And
we don't get paid for it, by the way.
I got
a lot of
that
people
vibe.
think we get paid for doing this. We don't.
And I got that vibe
We should,
completely.
but we don't.
All in due time.
Yeah.
It will happen eventually.
Hopefully.
Cool. So we've talked a little bit about that. Get involved, guys. Just sponsor as much as you can. Tickets for the event. I need to actually research all of this because I'm not sure. How much is tickets for the event? You know what? I'll do a separate video talking about this, and I
want to say a £5.
I'll be more revised. Yeah, I think it is about £5, maybe a little bit less. I can't see it being more.
Do you know what we want? We want to take the most fans.
Yeah.
We want to take the most fans.
Yeah,
there.
we'll be playing in grey, by the way. We'll be playing in grey in a Wolfpack
I don't mind that,
shirts.
Quite past to a grey kit.
We look all right.
As long as it's fitting.
Poor Dave from Talking Wolves, his team's got pink.
Hey, I'll rate a pink kit.
It's one of them.
That Palermo kit. Do you remember the old Palermo kit?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go through the comments on bits that I might have missed. So bear with us just a sec. There's 1,000 of you here, by the way. Please, if you could, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you listen to this on Spotify, rate us 5 out of 5. That really helps. And just do what you can on various media. God, there's a lot. I know that you were talking
again, man. I like that.
I know you were talking about
people again.
Yeah, I know you were talking about VAR. Does Jacqui like VAR? I can honestly and safely say that she does not like VAR, but didn't really want to bore her with a VAR chat because she probably gets that on the daily, all the time.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm just kind of sick to death of it, in my opinion. Where was that question?
Mate, what
that
about
I
this
answered?
automated offside thing? What's your stance on that? Because
I'm gonna see what it's like in the Premier League, but it looks a bit strict to me.
I don't like it. I think it's too.
As
I
a
think it
matter
can
of
be
fact,
tampered with. For how
I saw
long?
that. What you were talking about? Yeah, I saw what you were talking about with that. That looked really bizarre. They'd like change the teams around on
Do
the
you know?
still.
So what it had, right? So what it was is they'd taken out. So whoever's edited the photo had edited one of the England defenders out. So he was actually onside. They'd
It
edited
looks on,
out
mate. If you
John
watch the
Stone.
watch along, I am literally screaming at it, thinking that's onside by a mile, surely. Anyway, so going through some of the comments, Steve asks, "Is Guedes staying?" So Guedes,
Probably not.
unfortunately, is not staying. There are a lot of teams that are looking at him.
We don't know for sure, though, mind.
We don't know
There's
for
no
sure,
sale.
but
There's no sale in place,
so
but it doesn't look
so
promising,
Guedes
does it?
basically he's turned around and he's essentially said that he wants European football, which, to be fair, it's one of those things. He's only really going over to the USA because Podence is injured. Otherwise, Podence would have been there instead.
But
of.
it looks as if both of them are going, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Both
So
of them are-
Podence,
both of them
Fabio
are off by the looks of
Silva,
it.
Guedes. Who else? Can't think off the top of my head. Basically, but there's a list of players that definitely won't be here in one way or another. I think they are showcasing Guedes in the USA matches so that they can sell him at the end of the window.
Looks that way.
I actually think he's just going because, like, he obviously needs minutes in his legs for that's the only reason he started training at Compton is because he needs minutes in his legs and he weren't getting training anywhere else. It's a bit unfortunate because we've still not really seen the best of him, have we? And in fairness, I haven't really seen the best of him.
When you put the would you give him another chance on the Instagram, I was a bit on the fence, so I didn't actually reply. But I thought there's pros and cons, isn't there? If we do give him another chance, then we're not playing Hwang, Cunha, or Neto in that position. So you've got to play him at the right time if you're giving him a chance.
So
But I
AJ
don't know
asks,
I
have you
think
seen the
he'd do all right
news?
under Gary O'Neill, you know.
I don't know. He seems a bit of a.
He does seem hit and miss, though.
Have you seen the news about James Rodriguez? What would you like that to happen if it did? I mean, he's a free. His money would be exponential. Probably you're talking probably more than Sarabia, which we really can't afford at the moment as it is. So I wouldn't be against it if we got rid of Sarabia or Semedo, and I really wouldn't want either of those players to leave in his stead. So it's one of those players really where that he hasn't really been able to make a. I mean, he did look good
player,
for
good
Colombia.
profile.
He did look good for Colombia when I watched him, and he did look good for Everton in his first season. But it just seemed to come off the boil a little bit, didn't he?
It looks like say good player, good profile,
Thanks, North.
but it's one of them. We'll see how it goes. Best stream so far. Oh, nice one. Cheers, man.
Legend.
It's because I'm back. I'm joking.
He's back. Sorry, I'm going through your comments, guys. Bear with.
Don't know how I feel about James Rodriguez, you know.
Yeah,
I think he's probably a little bit too late.
Yeah, I'd have liked him when Everton
probably
had
only
him.
he's probably only got like a season or something left in him. So probably not for the price.
So Andrew says he's waiting for his Gomez 8 shirt he paid £100 for to arrive. You're over in the States though, aren't you, Andrew? So it is going to take a little bit of time, unfortunately, my friend. But it's annoying one, but hopefully you get it in time for the
Where
US
did he
games.
order it from? Do we know?
I'd assume he just ordered it.
I hope he's
the
ordered
horse.
it properly, because people are scamming, aren't they?
Oh,
They tried it with
yeah,
the
yeah,
England
yeah.
shirts,
Yeah.
so just be careful. Make sure you're doing it all legit, please.
What's this news about Chalobah? So we had some inside information about the fact that we were interested in Chalobah, but he's not by any stretch linked to Wolves at all. It's one of those where, you know, he's thought about, but it would be really, really tricky to get him in, if I'm honest, because you'd end up having to sell another player just to fill in one player, and then you'd still be a player down because of the player you had to sell to get him in. So annoyingly, I don't think it's on the cards, but I do think he'd be a great player for Wolves for sure.
I think he'd be brilliant. I think he'd fill that. He'd fill a bit of a hole, but like you say, he'd also leave a hole, considering fee
Hi,
and
Mo.
stuff like that. All right, Mo.
Sorry, Bob, didn't realise you was in here.
Surprised my miss sent.
I like
Popped
this.
up
I
and
like this
said,
from
"Go
Neil.
get
Neil
to
says
bed."
Dawson is going to be an important for us if Super Mario is captain. Too, we have a fabulous squad. Very excited for the. Yeah, exactly. I'm really
be my captain,
optimistic and
Mario.
excited. Yeah, I think it's pretty much confirmed. Really, he's been captain for every pre-season game, hasn't he?
It's looking that way, yeah. Him and Huang have actually had shared captaincy in regards of minutes, but
North says he's in Scotland this day. This stream's made his day. Bless. Love that.
what a ledge, man. Keep coming with these compliments. That's what I live for, man.
Yeah. We're fit through the door soon.
I know. I have to walk through sideways.
What's going on, Wickham Zone? How you doing? You all right?
The Wickham Zone. Is that Wickham Wanderers, or are they Wolves just from Wickham?
Of course it is.
Okay. Like it. Welcome.
Oh, I didn't know you're from the UK. That's weird that you haven't received it. Then you're probably better off going to the club shop and telling them that can't go back there due to personal reasons.
Go and pick one up from Johnzo's.
It's an unfortunate one, that is, Andrew. Sorry about that, bud.
Just make sure it's legit, because
yeah, if he said he's got it from the club shop, so
okay,
get there
fair.
Might have been because you've had some lettering on there. Perhaps they've just had to get it made.
I'd imagine there's probably been quite an influx, to be honest, because we've kind of held back on our kit releases at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah.
See, away kit 2nd of August, is it?
Cheers, man. Martin, well, legend, says the best show ever. Thanks, lads. So excited for the season to get started. Yeah, man, I'm really optimistic actually about it. The next season. Hope you will post a video about the summary of each next match in the tournament in America. It's really weird because I was thinking to myself, I was like, there's quite a few people that aren't able to watch that game. A watch along would probably be decent, even though it's quite late at night. There's quite a lot of people that would probably end up watching it anyway. So,
I wouldn't mind jumping on doing like a match review or something.
Yeah, I think we might do. I think we might.
Depending on times, obviously, because I'm off work, but Shan's not. But
yeah, I think every single one of them are at like midnight, basically.
I know. So that's what I'm thinking.
It's going to be an awkward one, but
I wouldn't mind doing like a review though, like the day after, seeing how I'll be up watching them, but I'll just be probably downstairs, not making too much noise.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, there'll be content around it regardless, guys. So don't worry about that. Cheers for that, Neil. For the first time in a long time, looking forward to the season. I think the thing is, what you've got to think is, if you took away the Jeff Shee stuff, if you took away the Fosun stuff, we'd all be really quite optimistic about it.
I think so.
It's just that
I think so far we're going in the right direction, aren't we?
Yeah, it's all going in the right direction. I just worry for the future, basically, with the current ownership. But if it, we're basically a CEO away from being in decent stead there as well. Do you think we'll
See
keep
what happens.
Keanu Hoover? Yeah, I do actually, because
I think he might have another loan spell.
I don't know. I actually
Fair
don't
enough.
know because he's already had a load of loan spells, and I don't really feel like he gets enough from that anyway. I think he'd actually be better off just sticking with Wolves and just playing when he can. I don't.
But when would he play?
I know that, but like I just
That's the
don't.
thing.
I don't know. I don't think a loan would really do him any good, really, to be honest.
I would. I'd loan him out and look to sell him on next season personally.
Mm,
I don't think he's going to be first team quality. I think
Yeah.
I think the idea was there, but I don't think he's gonna cut it. But
So we are doing a shirt review for the away shirt. That shirt comes out on the 3rd of August.
what was the second?
Is it 2nd?
I think so.
Is it 2nd of August? It's around
so.
then at least. I think that means that the 3rd is when you can buy it. I think that's what
Oh,
I meant
okay,
by
fair,
that.
fair.
2nd it gets announced. And it's going to be quite funny because obviously we saw it leaked. We knew about it absolutely ages ago, and it's just one of those stories for me now that I'll always remember.
I'm looking
that.
forward to seeing the reactions.
Yeah, that shirt.
I
Man.
don't know what I'll make of it still. I still
love
don't
it,
know
man.
what
I
I'll make.
fucking love
Do
it.
you?
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I love it.
Have you seen it in person
I
yet?
can't say too much, but I love it, man. I think it's great.
Have you seen it in person yet?
I can't say, but
Oh, okay, fair.
I think it's a really nice shirt. You know, I wanted to hate it when I started doing the stuff for it.
From
when
what
it was
I've seen,
leaked.
I'm just a bit like, I like the idea.
I think it's really cool. You know,
Mm.
I do. I think it's very cool. I don't think a lot of people will
We'll see.
be wearing it from a certain age range, but I think it's clever from Wolves to market for a younger audience. Anyway, I always think that's a clever way of going about things because you're not messing with the home shirt. That's
You
very
never know,
basic.
though. You never know. You see some good sites in Wolverhampton. You never know who might turn up in it.
Mate, I've seen some people in that blue shirt that should not wear that blue shirt. I'm gonna be absolutely frank with you. I never judge anybody. I'm like the least judgmental person in the world. But there's some shirts you should just not wear if you're at a certain body size, just
Never
because
know, man.
they're not made for that reason. Do you know what I mean?
They're football kits, aren't they?
So yeah,
Say no more.
It'll be an interesting one to see. You know, people of more of like a plus size, because of the design on the shirt. It's if you stretch it out, it does.
Don't say too much.
Right?
I'm imagining it now.
I fucking love it, mate. I really do.
I'm just imagining
honestly.
a stretched out.
Do you think it's going to be Semedo's last season due to contract running out? We did talk a little bit about Semedo, and it's going to be interesting because it's going to be an interesting thing, isn't it? I think it will be very interesting to see what the 11 is that play against Arsenal in August. It's going to be very, very fucking interesting.
I think it'll be interesting in America, though. I think
even with but even with Lopetegui, when when he left and we had Gary O'Neill for the first game, no one was really shocked by the lineup he chose. No one was shocked about the way. Well, we were shocked about the way we played, but not the lineup we chose. Or it was all very safe, wasn't it? But you would do that 4 days into the job, whereas now he's had all this time to prepare for one game. It's going to be really interesting to see, what team comes out. It's going to be really, really interesting. I'm really excited for the season, like everybody else. I think
I'm excited.
There's a lot to be excited about, to be honest.
Yeah. However, on that note, I'm going to love you in Liga.
Yeah, same.
Because one, I'm tired. Two, I need a wee. Just putting it out there. So
fair play. Have a tired wee.
I'm gonna have a tired wee. Yeah.
Love that. But yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
Next time you see us, I'm going to be doing some videos. I should say as well, actually, before you go, I haven't been around because I've been kind of focusing on my personal life and everything. So I do apologise if there's not been too much content recently, but I can absolutely assure you 1000% there is going to be so much content this season that I will be in a lot of trouble with the missus, because I just know weekends are just going to be absolutely dedicated to this shit.
He's not gonna see her.
Cool wait. Thanks for the stream, says everyone. Yeah, no problem, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for if you've been listening on Spotify as well. Do all of the things that you need to do, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends.
We're not just saying it either. Like,
no.
please actually do it, because like
and also,
Dan's mentioned before, it's so important that you like and subscribe.
Please head over and buy some tickets for this, because it's going to be a good old time.
Big beast, mate.
And we'll talk about that properly another time anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice one, guys. See you on the next one, whatever you get involved in, and catch you on the next one in a bit.
Awesome.
Bye.
Ta-da.
We're out for blood. Better run, better run. 'Cause here it comes, here it comes. Better run, better run. When the wolves come out to play.